race of this season, the Formula One Australian Grand Prix.
It's one of the Jordans. Hello, and there's a big bang.
Michael Schumacher's victory in Australia last year kick-started the charge to his third world title. Now Red 1 is flying high in Oz. His world's turned upside down in practice. And then the best Australian qualifying session of his life. The top man's hit the ground running.
And Schumacher has done it!
Wow.
6/10 of a second faster is well nigh unbelievable.
Albert Park, Melbourne is a magnificent sight on the first race day of the year. We're counting down to the start of F1 2001.
G'day from the ITV studio. It is great to have you with us. Very well done for getting up or staying up. Nothing beats seeing the action live. Bit more cloud cover here today, but it's still very warm indeed. Temperature around about 22 degrees. All week in Melbourne, they've been making a real fuss of Murray Walker as he starts his last commentary year. Murray's going to pop in and join us along with his old mucker, Sir Sterling Moss, but already in situ in the studio. Tony Jardine, all set for another year. Hi, Tony. And Mark Blundell. New face, but very well known in Formula One circus, ex-F1 driver. Now, Mark, we've seen Michael Schumacher there taking great chunks out of Häkkönen's pole time last year. Does the speed they've been going here surprise you?
It does surprise me by how much, but you know, you're going to get that. Reduced aerodynamics, so less drag, and a tyre war. But nearly 4 seconds faster than last year, and this is only the first race. I'm gobsmacked.
Yeah. What do the drivers feel? They fancy that?
Oh, they love speed, obviously, that's what it's all about. But the most important factor is balance. You know, you can have as much horsepower, you can have as much speed at top end, but you need to get the power on the ground.
I'll tell you, one team have got the power on the ground very quickly. I mean, forget Ferrari, McLaren and Jordan.
We've had this austerity programme, you know, they were gutted last year if they dropped so far down, and they've really worked hard, kept very, very quiet, a lot of investment, a lot of change of staff, and Eddie says what he wants to do is do what he did 2 years ago and surprise everybody. So far they've done that. We've got to see if the car in race trim is as good as in qualifying, where it's fourth with Frentzen. Great start.
OK, our first job, though, is to bring you right up to date with all the changes that have taken place in the world of Formula One since Michael Schumacher won in Malaysia back in October. A tyre war is actually already starting. We've got a special feature coming on that in a few minutes' time. Lots of other changes, but continuity at the very top.
Ferrari are this year's leaders of the pack and finally have the cherished #1 on the car. They've worked hard on development over the winter, and world champion Michael Schumacher has been vocal about how good the car feels. Rubens Barrichello joins in for another season and is keen to add to his first race win in Germany last year.
McLaren are on the offensive for the first time since '98 after losing both titles to Ferrari last year. Melbourne marks the team's 100th race with Mercedes power, whilst Hakkinen lines up for his 6th consecutive season as teammate to David Coulthard, the longest running driver pairing in Formula One.
Williams were best of the rest last year and will be disappointed if they don't pick up a win this year. Ralf Schumacher stays for another season and is joined by Indy 500 winner Juan Pablo Montoya. There is tension between the two drivers, but they both say they'll do their talking on the track.
Benetton line up 4th for one final hurrah before the outfit becomes Renault in 2002. Giancarlo Fisichella starts the season in a positive frame of mind, but reliability could prove an issue in the early part of the year. Williams refugee Jenson Button should give Fisichella a run for his money.
British American Racing start the season in 5th place on one of 2 Honda engine teams. Frenchman Olivier Panis, who last raced for Prost in 1999, is back in Formula One after a year testing for McLaren. He will be pushing his teammate Jacques Villeneuve.
Jordan slipped right down to 6th last year, but are hoping the Works Honda engine will power them back to winning ways. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has been putting in some impressive times over the winter, as has teammate Jarno Trulli. The battle between the two Honda-powered teams could prove one of the highlights of the year.
Experienced Dutchman Jos Verstappen starts his 2nd season with Arrows, who have yet to score their first Grand Prix victory. He's joined by former test driver Enrique Bernoldi. The team will be using the old Peugeot engines, rebadged as AsiaTech.
Sauber have taken a bold step this year with 2 of the youngest drivers in Formula One. Nick Heidfeld moves from Prost to become the experienced member of the team. Newcomer Kimi Räikkönen from Finland will be under very close scrutiny. He makes the giant leap from Formula Renault into Formula One with just 23 single-seater race starts under his belt.
Jaguar has slid down the grid to 9th place. Former test driver Luciano Berti is promoted to a race seat, replacing Johnny Herbert, who's now testing for Arrows. Former world champion Niki Lauda comes in as senior manager of the programme, while Eddie Irvine is once again the #1 driver.
Minardi have taken on 19-year-old Fernando Alonso, the 3rd youngest man ever to race in Formula One. He joins Tarso Marquez, who last drove for the team in '97. Australian millionaire Paul Stoddart stepped in just weeks ago to save the little Italian team.
Prost start at the tail end of the grid this year, but their customer Ferrari engines are a real asset. And over the pre-season testing period, Jean Alesi set a new track record at Barcelona. Alongside him is Gaston Mazzacani, who comes with 1 year's experience from Minardi.
Winter form not reflected in qualifying for Prost, Alesi and Mazzacani well down the back. But Tony, headline in the morning papers, shoe shine.
Yeah, I mean, he's always shining. I mean, his helmet, I think, was a bit shiny upside down because we had on all the papers around the world with pictures of Shuey upside down. But he's just showing that over the winter, despite having the pin out of his leg, despite starting late, he was holidaying in Norway with his family. I mean, he's on it straight away. He came back testing late, and he's proved to everybody, I'm still hungry, because some of the teams were hoping that he wouldn't be after 3 championships. Maybe he'd go off the boil slightly. Has he? After accidents, after big disputes over his helmet, there is the guy going out there 3 laps at a time to take provisional pole, as we just saw there.
That was setting the pace early on. What about your old team, McLaren, though, Coulthard and Hakkinen? Are you disappointed the way they've gone so far?
A little bit disappointed, yeah, but I know those guys are working very, very hard. They will be back. You know, don't underestimate McLaren, Mercedes-Benz. They're a strong team. Ron Dennis is at the head. He's going to make sure that they're going to get back to winning and get back to producing the results they need in qualifying. And that's we're a little bit short already at this start of the season, but, you know, they will be at the front.
Rubens Barrichello was up on the podium here last year when he made his Ferrari debut, and he seems to fancy this current Ferrari strongly.
I think everybody thinks Rubino is just such a wonderful guy, so popular. Everybody loved it when he won in Germany last year. A lot of people around the world watching were crying with him on the podium. It was just sensational. But he is such a smooth driver. But, you know, he just got the pole position there, just by 1,000th of a second from Michael Schumacher. and then out comes Schumacher and does it. I think Marky knows how that feels.
That's a big deal for a driver. I mean, it's demoralising. Just think about it.
But this time was absolutely astonishing compared to Häkkönen's pole last year.
Yeah, it was, but what we're also going to remember, the guy's coming back from a big crash, and this was a car that the Ferrari mechanics spent all night rebuilding. It had been over 3 times, rebuilt it, put it all back together, and to go that fast, nearly 4 seconds, is absolutely amazing, stunning.
Jordan have been very low-key in the winter. Eddie said no Christmas party for the workforce after last year's season.
No puddings.
Nay, nothing.
They're all too fat.
Nay, nothing. But Heinz Harald Frentzen, who goes well in Melbourne, is in good shape for the race.
Well, this is great. You've got to watch this because he got up to 4th place with this lap here. They had a very outlandish car last year. They really pushed out the boat. This year it's a combination of fast, yes, but also a bit of reliability. Whispers in the pit lane that this was almost a perfect lap. And afterwards, Frentzen said, look, I've had to keep quiet until we're into competition. He said, this is a great car.
He said it's the best Jordan he's certainly ever driven. We saw in our opening sequence Michael Schumacher's world turning upside down, and Luciano Berti, the Brazilian, had a moment yesterday in the Jaguar.
It was a big moment as well. I mean, big impact, but the guy was a passenger. There's nothing he did wrong there. Either a tyre let go or suspension. You see the right front unloads, the rear left dips down. He's going to hit the wall in the biggest possible way. Not
his fault, but as a driver in a car like that, does it shake your confidence a bit?
I think it may with him. He doesn't have that much experience. I mean, somebody like Schumacher, no, he's been on his head, he's fine. But Berti, pressure's on his shoulders already.
Sure, let's hear what Luciano Berti himself made of that accident. Here he is chatting to Louise Goodman.
Talk us through the accident. What did you actually feel?
Just hitting the wall. It happened so quick. 1 minute I was turning to the corner, the next minute I was crashing to the wall. So until I saw the replay, to be honest, I wasn't sure what had happened. But looking at the replay, you can see that something was wrong. The front wheel is in the air, so it means that the rear suspension or the rear wheel broke. But after that, you're just a passenger and just wait until the car stops, and that's it, really.
Are the team going to be able to fix the car okay for tomorrow?
I think so. I think the tub itself is okay. So, you know, I think they have enough spares to fix it, so it should be okay.
They did fix it okay. Berti 18th in warm-up, Irvine up there in 8th, and Häkkinen and Coulthard quickest in the warm-up session this morning. Jaguars all set to go here in Melbourne, where they made their Formula One debut last year. OK, let's find out the other drivers' reactions, shall we? Starting with the odds-on favourite, the Red Mist Man.
There's only one first position and we have that, so we're quite happy on that. But I always keep saying in the past that qualifying is one thing, racing is another thing, and we have to show tomorrow we are reliable and we're in the same position.
I lost one run because I went wide, example, in the first corner because the car was just not handling correctly. So we need to have some serious talk and serious work to be done for tomorrow.
The car suits me better than last year's. I'm feeling good about it, and you know, I've already tested with full tanks. Goes well.
Even from 6th place, if I can score a couple of points, and that will have me ahead of the last 2 years. So obviously my sights adjust considering the grid position.
Fastest Michelin run and a stonking final lap from you.
I mean, it was a great lap. I think we got the best out of it today, although it's not quite enough from what we want to achieve, that's obvious, but from what we have started yesterday and what we've seen yesterday, I think we can be pretty happy about it.
This is the first race. It's always, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of failures normally, so hopefully we can be one of the people that are at the end of the race, and I think we can, so it's quite positive, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I'm pretty happy and confident that we have a good car this year, much better car than last year. And I'm comfortable that we are having a very good season this year and closer up to McLaren and Ferrari.
I think we can have a good race. A bit disappointed for qualifying where we start because the car had a lot more potential, but we'll see what happens.
Starting in 3rd position, I think it's a good place, one sense, to start this Grand Prix because you started behind the pole position, and that's the most important. So you have a more or less clean start of the circuit, so that's a good thing.
They haven't really used the maximum performance out of the car yet, because there's no reason why they shouldn't be close to us, because we know they are good and we know they will fight back. So I don't feel now too secure and feel that's it. I know very well how quickly things can change.
It's top of the grid though. Tony, take us through it.
Well, first Aussie pole for Schumacher in 10 attempts, and an all-red front row for the first time since Monza last year. And Häkkinen talking about a very messy qualifying session, but prefers to be the hunter now. Frentzen very happy with his car, as he said. Ralf Schumacher, top of the Michelin runners there. Coulthard alongside him in 6th place. Messy for him as well, all over the place on the grass. Truly disappointed with 7. Villeneuve the first of the BARs, and as expected, pushing him hard, Olivier Panis. Heidfeld making his swap now across to Sauber from Prost. He's happy with that. Grand Prix rookie Montoya there, who was blocked by traffic, but he'll be up alongside Irvine. Räikkönen there, he's another rookie. He wanted to be in the top 10, but he hasn't quite made that, just outside. Verstappen, Button having maximum aggravation at the moment. The car not going right at all, but still ahead of his teammate Fisichella. Important psychologically here. Alonso, 4th of Grand Prix rookies there alongside Mazzucani. Luciano Berti suffering after accident, and Tarso Marquez only on the grid after dispensation from the organisers when Paul Stoddard went to see them outside the 107% rule.
Thanks very much indeed, Tony. Now let's just check out, shall we, the ramifications of that tyre war last year. Bridgestone had a clear run. They always buzz us over the studio here in Melbourne. Get used to that. And now Michelin are back in the fray. Speeds, as we've been saying, have increased dramatically. 18 cars, would you believe, qualifying quicker than Häkkinen's pole time last year. And those cars also have a very different look. Here's Louise.
Speeds which the tyres will produce this season, the FIA has introduced a number of changes to the design regulations aimed at slowing the cars down. The front wing will be 50mm higher, and the teams are restricted to running a maximum of 4 elements on the rear wing. The overall effect will be a significant reduction in downforce. There are also some new safety rules. Each wheel must now have 2 tethers to prevent it flying off in case of an accident, and padding has been added inside the chassis here to protect the driver's legs. The crash tests are also much tougher this year, resulting in a car that's around 20% stronger than last season.
We came into this weekend talking about a tyre war, so what have we learned so far? Well, it looks as though it's first blood to Bridgestone. They have the edge in qualifying, and it looks as though they have the edge in the race as well. The tyre war has made the cars 4 seconds a lap faster than last year, and this trend looks set to develop as newer and softer rubber comes on stream. Now, the Michelin tyres performed reasonably well in qualifying. Ralf Schumacher 5th, just 0.8 of a second off the pole. Not bad for a first effort, but where they are struggling is in race conditions. Look at this. This is a front tyre that's come off one of the Williamses. You can see this graining here, lots of rubber coming off the tyre. That's high tyre wear issue, and they're going to have a problem with that this afternoon, much worse than the Bridgestones, so they will struggle. It's going to be a tricky race for the Williams boys, and they'll have to watch the left front tyre particularly carefully through the long right-hand corners. Ideally, drivers want to do a one-stop race today, with as long a first stint as possible. The longer you stay out, the more places you pick up. Last year, Ralf Schumacher went from 11th place on the grid to 3rd by stopping on lap 38 of 53. But if a fast car is caught in traffic, watch out for a switch to a 2-stop strategy, as successfully attempted by Rubens Barrichello last year en route to 2nd place.
If the noise of the cars around Albert Park wasn't enough, these fellas turn up the old volume a bit as well. The F18 fighter of the Royal Australian Air Force Roulette. Spectacular sight, and they really put on a great show here in Melbourne over a 4-day period. And that's what's making the racket above our studio here at trackside. Mark, what about the speeds that they're going at the moment, the drivers? I mean, do the drivers themselves want to go faster and faster and faster?
It's just natural that you always want to go faster and faster as a driver, but I say the most important factor is not just terminal speed, not acceleration. It's all about getting that compromise between power, speed, balance of a race car. It's no good having as much speed as you know, the next guy is. He may be 20 kilometers slower than you, but he may be 20 kilometers quicker through the corners, and that's what it's all about. It's putting that lap together.
Tony, just briefly, will the authorities say this is too fast, we're going to have to do something else to slow it down again?
They'll be monitoring the situation very carefully, because Max Mosley, I mean, he has a remit to make sure that speeds don't become too excessive. And therefore, he has said in the past, if they get too quick, I'll think about putting another groove in the tyres. If that doesn't work, we'll think about going to an all-treaded tyre, like a road car. And he will certainly be watching very, very carefully.
OK, I know lots of you out there like a flutter on Formula 1. Here are the very latest odds from the bookmakers. The Ladbrokes, Schumacher evens to retain his championship, and odds on to win today, and really they see just 3 drivers in with a chance of being champion of F1 2001, and Jensen and Eddie Irvine, the British drivers, right down at the bottom, 80 and 150 to 1. Okay, then very shortly we're going to be joined by 2 living motorsport legends and a young man who might just reach that status a little bit down the line. We're going to be keeping a close eye on him on and off the track.
Craig Pollock, this Grand Prix last year, BAR scored points for the first time. Jacques Villeneuve started 8th on the grid, finished 4th. He's 8th again today. Are you confident?
Well, we can never say overly confident. We think we've got a reliable car like last year, and we've got 2 drivers who can really be up there. So maybe with a little bit of luck, we can try and get 1 place better.
Just looking up at the sky when we had that air display, there seems quite a lot of moisture up there. Are you worried that that might come down on us this afternoon?
Well, it came down on us this morning, but it was very light, and they've announced that it's going to be better weather in the afternoon, so I'm not really worried about it. If it rains for everybody. Good race.
Okay, thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
12 points. Today, it's his first race in a 2-year spell at Benetton, and we caught up with Jensen testing and as he packed his bags for the new season.
I've got my suit, which might come in useful. Cuddly Toy. It's my lucky mascot that my girlfriend got me for my birthday, so I better take it with us or I get shot. The whole package is a bit behind what we expected at this time of the season. But then again, it is quite difficult coming in with Michelin being new in Formula 1 and Renault coming back in. It was always going to be difficult. But I think it's more long-term we're looking anyway, so I think towards the end of the season it's going to be a lot better, and hopefully we'll get some good results then. Toiletry bag. I think we're all sorted now. Yeah, fitness is great actually. I've always hated fitness. I've always done it because I've had to. And when I got told I had to go to Lanzarote on the 2nd of January for 5 or 6 days training, I was like, whoa,
no chance. I'm not going to last that long. But it was really, really good fun, and we were training about 5.5, 6 hours a day, and it was. I really enjoyed it. It's quite unusual.
Passport. 5 minutes back. Don't be late.
How are you getting on with Giancarlo?
Good.
You're going to be revving each other up this year?
I hope so, yeah. I hope so. I think that's what pushes you forward anyway. So hopefully we'll be pushing each other really, really hard. Just hope he's not too quick, because he's pretty quick. Quicker than I thought he was. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. It is going to be tough in Melbourne. I mean, nobody knows what to expect in Melbourne because I haven't driven the circuit on Michelin's. So it is difficult to know. But from what I've seen, as I said, I think they're doing a great job. And the tyres are looking good. It's just, we'll wait and see, I don't know.
Cool. See you in Melbourne then.
Just come through the door of our studio here, Sir Sterling Moss and Murray Walker. Welcome both. Do you have any cuddly toys in your motors when you drove round?
No, I didn't actually. There wasn't that much room. No, I always carried a little horseshoe.
Really?
But, yeah. But the trouble with doing that, the trouble is that if you haven't got it with you and anything goes wrong, then you know why. So it's not really a good idea.
Murray, what do you make of Jenson Button? It could be a testing year for him this
Well, I've always said, Jim, that no matter what happens to Jenson this year and next year, it's good experience. He started off magnificently last year. Being at the bottom of the heap this year, which he is at the present moment, isn't going to do him any harm at all. It'll harden him to the realities of Formula One, which he may have missed a bit last year. And when he goes to another team, he's going to be even stronger.
Michael Schumacher, we've spoken about a lot here today. I just wanted to show you one or two little pictures of Michael Schumacher's victory ceremony last year. Just keep your eye on the plate that Michael Schumacher is getting from Steve Bratz, the Premier of Victoria. Schumacher raises that above his head. Now, how'd you get that then?
Jim, this was one of the 3 most emotional experiences of my life, and the other one has been today. It was at the Grand Prix ball. Ron Walker, who is the boss of it all, invited me to come. And when I got there, Prince Michael was there, and I was called up onto the dais to receive this, which is an exact replica of the trophy that Michael Schumacher and the others before him have had. To say that I was overwhelmed is putting it very mildly indeed.
Can you believe that this is going to be the last year?
I think it's terrible. I'm hoping he'll change his mind again. I can't do without it. But if he doesn't change his mind, you've got to come to the races. I mean, this week you've got to.
Well,
you have to have him.
I think it'll be difficult to keep me away.
That's good.
When this is my 53rd year of commentating, and I was at the first British Grand Prix in 1949 for the BBC in those days. And when you've had a lifetime of it, you're not going to break away from it.
It's fair to say, Murray, I think there aren't too many people in Melbourne that don't know you're here. I mean, from the moment you stepped off that plane at the crack of dawn, you got the old red carpet reception there, and a very nice reception committee, I'd have to say. That's you at the Grand Ball, where you received this fantastic trophy. And, well, I didn't walk around with you anywhere because you got mobbed wherever you go around the circuit, and this morning for you, great moment.
This was the other most emotional experience of my life, because so many times, Jim, I've looked at the Grand Prix drivers' parade and thought how marvellous it was, and talked about it. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would be part of it, but they put me into the last car today, and the reception I got was absolutely overwhelming. Marvellous.
There'll never be another Murray Walker.
No, there won't. That's but you may be starting at the back of the Grand Prix today, you know. That'll really shake you up.
Can you remember when the Grand Prix circuit first came to Australia?
Well, yes, I remember when I was first here for the Australian.
You won it. You got a stand out the back.
1956, yeah, not a very good stand actually. It's rather on the straight.
Well, it might be a bit rickety by now, I do think.
No, this was 56, and we ran the other way around on the park as a park.
Right.
And of course, you couldn't run the modern Formula One car on it anymore. I mean, it was too narrow, and but it was fabulous. I mean, 100,000 people came out here. I mean, this is the centre of sport of the world, let's face it.
They say that if a couple of flies are crawling up the wall in Melbourne, there'll be 100,000 people cheering them on. And it's not much of an exaggeration.
Were there a few misgivings about Australia?
Yeah, I think in a slightly superior way we thought, well, Australia's on the other side of the world, you know. They won't really know how to do it. But when we got here, it was absolutely mind-blowing because they'd formed committees and sent them to all the other Grand Prix to find out how to do it, and then they'd done it better. And nobody does it better than Australia, and very, very few people get within a whisker of doing it as well.
OK, Murray, let's just tune into your older memory bank, shall we, and look back at your Aussie memories, starting with Adelaide in '86.
It was fantastic. Adelaide was brilliant. The organisation and administration was superb, and the enthusiasm was overwhelming. Australia immediately became the #1 Grand Prix, and the racing was sensational. Who'll ever forget 1986? And look at that! And colossally, that's Mansell! 1989 was one of the wettest races ever. Alain Prost withdrew after one lap, and after Ayrton Senna hit Martin Brundle, he was out of the race. Senna has only got 3 wheels. My goodness, Senna is out of the Australian Grand Prix. In retrospect, 1993 was a sad occasion, for it was the great Ayrton Senna's last Grand Prix win after starting from a record 65th pole position. And Ayrton Senna wins in Australia to the delight of his fans. 1994, victory at last for Nigel Mansell. And like Senna's the year before, it was to be his last in Formula One. And Nigel Mansell wins in Australia! Fantastic! But what 1994 will always be remembered for was the dramatic and contentious collision between Michael Schumacher's Benetton and Damon Hill's Williams, which resolved the World Championship in the Germans' favour. Was it deliberate? Judge for yourself. In 1996, the race moved to Melbourne. Albert Park had been transformed into an inspired location, with Australia now the first Grand Prix of the year rather than the last. A superb battle between Damon Hill and his Williams teammate, new boy Jacques Villeneuve, and a second successive win down under for Damon. Then in 1998, a truly dramatic conclusion when McLaren's David Coulthard, about to win for the second year running, yielded to teammate Mika Häkkinen almost on the line. What an outraged political uproar that caused. And now the Ferrari years, 1999, Eddie Irvine's first win, and last year when Michael Schumacher started the World Championship as he meant to finish, by winning. Schumacher wins, fist out, victory salute. 16 years of drama and pure joy, with great racing at great circuits in a great country.
Expecting more...
Nothing biased about me, Jim.
No, I know. You're expecting more champagne. The tourist board like that, by the way. You'll always get a trip here. More champagne for Schumacher today, Murray? What are you expecting?
Well, it's easy to say, Schumacher, Jim. If he does, it'll be his 5th win in succession, and only Nigel Mansell, I think, has done that in the past. Yes, you've got to say Schumacher, but everything can happen in Formula One, like I say it normally does. I wouldn't mind putting a few bob on Frentzen.
Really? Sterling?
Yeah, Frenson's a good outsider. I don't think he's going to win, in truth. I really don't. I think Rubens is in there as well, and he's going quickly. Mika's all fired up, but will he make it? I don't know. This is what's good about this race. We've come to find out things. How good is Montoya? He went like hell this morning. Sure. You know, and so there's so many things we're going to hear more about, I think.
We've heard the cars going round on their installation lap with just over 20 minutes to go to the start, and I know, Murray, you want to get away up there very quickly. Don't worry, you'll be there. You'll be in good shape up there. And there is Schumacher just giving the Ferrari a little blowout before the start of the Australian Grand Prix. 22 degrees and rising here. The start just over 20 minutes away. Murray, I mean, you've had some old week, but now you've got to do the job, old chap.
My worry up to now, Jim, has been being able to do the work. I'm supposed to be getting around talking to people. So many Australians have been talking to me that I haven't been able to talk to the people who matter. but I shall try.
I'm sure.
As Rubens Barrichello says, I will do my best.
He will do his best not to disappoint you, I think, which you said. Final thoughts, really, from you, Sterling, as a real pal of this fellow. It is going to be his last year.
I really am very, very disappointed. I think he has given more to motor racing than anybody else, along with Ferrari, in my mind. I think what he's done for motor racing is why there's so many people follow it, because you can't not be infected by him. That's the point.
You've got to go and go to work now. Thanks for joining us, Murray. And
well done.
Look forward to throwing over to you very, very shortly.
Take your ashtray.
No, that's excess baggage. I'm not taking it home for you, all right? Well, it's a fantastic event, this one here in Melbourne, Albert Park, just about my favourite venue. I think they're going to get a total of 400,000 people through the gates here over the 4-day period, and right down there, in the middle of all the hubbub, we have Louise Good.
Hi. Hello, Jim. Atmosphere definitely hotting up down here. Can't say the same for the weather. It's a bit overcast today, but I guess you can't have everything in life. I couldn't think of a better place to start the Grand Prix season than here in Melbourne. It really is a fabulous race. The organisation is second to none. The facilities are great. We're always made to feel very, very welcome at this race. Melbourne loves Formula One as well. Fantastic support here today. About 130,000 people expected for the Grand Prix. A lot of them are going to be cheering for Ferrari. You can probably see over in the grandstands a few red caps and T-shirts. Minardi very popular this year as well, of course. They've just been bought by Paul Stoddard, an Australian, so they've been adopted as the Aussie team. As always, though, it's Jordan who are attracting the celebrity fans. Ross Kemp, popular face to many ITV viewers. Now, you've been to Barcelona, you've been to Silverstone as well. This is a very long way to come for a Grand Prix, though.
Absolutely worth it. It's got a wonderful atmosphere, this place. Everyone's having a great time, and it's worth the trip.
As always, you're cheering for Jordan. You're a big Jordan fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love Eddie Jordan very much. He's a wonderful man that's always got time for everybody. I think they're the best partying team, without a doubt, and I think we'll have a good old time tonight, whether we win or we come second or third.
Is that why Eddie attracts the celebrity vote? Because they're the party team?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, but that's afterwards. Now, it's all very serious down there. The atmosphere's building up, and as I said, it's worth this journey just to be lapping up this wonderful atmosphere.
Now, very briefly, I understand that you may well be doing a bit more than supporting the Jordan team this year.
Yeah, it's sort of up in the air at the moment, but I'm hoping to be donning one of those gold fire retardant suits and maybe getting involved with the team. But as I said earlier, we don't definitely know whether that's going to happen or not, but I'm working to try and get my way in there somehow.
Well, if it does, we'll be there to record it. For the moment, though, back to you, Jim.
Thanks very much indeed, Lou. Now you see him, now you don't. Quick.
So what we've morphed into. There's no moss on this chair.
No. Quick change, not bad. Quick change, and you're back again. Talking about the Jordans down there, as we have already, there's another team that we should just run the focus over, and that's Jaguar. You weren't with us last year, Mark, but they arrived with this great blaze of publicity and then really fell flat on their faces. But a guy called Bobby Rahal is now trying to pull things around, and you know this fella pretty well.
No, Bobby very well. We've driven in kart against him, and previous winner in Indy 500 and many things. But don't underestimate Bobby Rahal. He's a very sharp businessman. But it's not only Bobby just at Jaguar now. We've got Nicky Lauda coming into the field. I mean, we've got some very powerful names.
I mean, drivers taking over teams hasn't actually had a 100% success rate, is fair to say.
Not yet. Bobby at Jaguar, Alain Prost at his own team there, but I think it will happen. Eventually, I think those guys will get it right, and there's some very sharp minds at the head of those companies.
Yeah, there's Nicky Lauda chatting to Eddie Irvine here in Australia. Do you think that the Jaguar were a bit embarrassed, perhaps, about that blaze of publicity when they came in? And then
don't you mean Jaguar?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it morphed into last year.
Jaguar, then.
They were embarrassed. They've got to re-establish their reputation. We all know that. And Bobby Rahal is a no-nonsense guy. He knows what he's doing. But he's already had run-ins in the team. He made some sackings at the beginning of top engineers and mechanics. That upset Eddie Irvine. Irv shoots from the lip as usual, and he criticised the team for that. He was rebuked by the team. And arriving here, he said the team was slow. So he's had a slap. He's had another slap again. But, he is in a sort of twilight of his career, according to Bobby Rahal. So he's got to deliver now, and he's got to be dedicated.
Yeah. OK, thanks to you both. Let's have a word with Michael Schumacher, shall we? Pole sitter, last year's winner, reigning world champion, going for his 5th victory in a row. That sequence started back in Monza in the autumn. Here he is then talking one-to-one with Murray.
I first talked to you at Spa in 1991, 11 years ago. Is the fire still burning?
Oh, very much. I mean, you know, the simple words I should use for that is I'm simply born to race, and it's a natural ability I have to put the car on the limit and enjoy it. I want to compete, I want to race, and I don't know how long. Naturally, one day it will be over, but I see that day being far away for the moment.
Now, well, it's 5 years between your second World Championship for Benetton and your first World Championship for Ferrari. Now, 5 years in your young life is a long time. Do you feel the investment was worth it? All that waiting to get there again?
I don't think you should look at it saying it's worth it or not worth it. Simply say that it was my best life, my best years of my life, honestly, because even though there were tough moments, but the good thing is if you come out of tough moments and you have good moments and finally deliver a championship, it's simply the best. And no, I don't want to miss that time.
Now, years ago, after Senna had won his third World Championship, I was sitting talking to him and I said, you've got all the money in the world, you've won umpteen races, you've won championships. What is the motivation now? And he said, bigger numbers. Is that your motivation?
No, I wouldn't say that, because the numbers don't change very much. It's simply, you know, when I'm sitting in the car, when I drive, when I put it on the limit, it's what I love to do, and I enjoy. And I mean, what is better to do? There's nothing else which I could enjoy more than driving a racing car. And I'm too young to stop and retire and sit in the chair and smoke a cigar and drink wine at home. That's too early for me.
But it's early days in this year's season. We haven't even had the first race yet, and it looks pretty obvious that, again, it's going to be between you and McLaren. But what are the prospects that you see in terms of competition from the other teams?
Obviously, you've seen Jordan being quite competitive today, although you never know how much fuel quantity they run around with. But at the end of the day, I think it will be a championship fight between the two teams you mentioned, as last year. But the teams will be closer, and I've said many times that we will have to, or we will find out more teams being able to score victories.
Do you see more of a threat from Coulthard this year than you did last year?
We'll find out.
I think the answer to that is probably a negative. No worries so far for Ferrari or for Michael Schumacher. It's been a stroll in the park. Let's wander down the grid now, shall we, with Martin Brundle.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody at home. Congratulations if you stayed up or got up early this morning to see this first Grand Prix of the season. Here we are on the grid. Michael Schumacher's just cruised on very, very late. Did very few laps this morning in the warm-up and had a problem with a brake disc bell, apparently. So a little bit of drama. A lot of unknowns on this grid today. I don't believe a Ferrari has finished a complete and true race distance this year, and nor has a McLaren, in my view. So if any of these two teams win the Grand Prix today, I think it'll be a first for those cars over the line and a complete race distance. But anyway, Michael's here. Poor old boy, just over £500,000 a week he earns, and he's come all the way around the other side of the world to put a show on for you. I talked about those unknowns because there's 5 drivers on this grid that have never started a Grand Prix in a normal Grand Prix grid situation. And a lot of those youngsters, if you watch my grid walk from time to time, you know that I often have a job finding drivers because they're off to the gents. They preload so heavily on their with the water, but this year's going to be very embarrassing. We've got so many young kids. It's going to be all the parents finishing off the potty training, I think. Some of these guys are so young. But I don't know if I can just squeeze in on Heinz Harald there, who's had an excellent performance in qualifying. Fourth on the grid, talking to his Bridgestone engineer at the moment. And of course, tyres are a big issue today. New Bridgestones, new... Patrick, can you have a quick word with us about your man, Patrick Head of the Williams team, of course, your man, Ralph there, in 6th position, pretty spectacular qualifying, and how those tyres going to last today?
Well, I think it's easier to tell you after the race, but all the predictions say that they should be no problem.
Okay, and reliability, because some of these guys in front of you might not be too smart on that.
Well, you never know. No team really knows how well they're going to be off until you've got through the first race. So if you are overconfident about your reliability, you're probably going to get a bad surprise.
All right, when Heinz Haralde was driving for you a few years back, he flew off the road with no brakes towards the end of the race while leading in one of your cars. Is brakes a drama here?
Always far too hard on brakes.
Oh, was it? So it's no problem today then with brakes?
Our predictions are that they're okay, but with the data you get in practice never truly represents the race conditions. So we'll be monitoring the brake wear during the race.
Okay, and one stop?
It'll be 1 or 2.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Let's have a wander down, see who else we can find. So you've got Ralf Schumacher then in 6th place. I wanted to speak to Eddie Jordan. He's had a stonking weekend so far with Frentzen, and Trudy looked like he was really going to get the job done as well. So Jordan and the Hondas, and there's a big scrap between the two Honda teams. And let's see if we can interrupt. Oh, there he's with. Yes, that's going to be rude, I think, to interrupt on that one. I think we'll save that for another day, because I'm sure Edmund is going to have plenty to say when. I'm sure Edmund's going to have plenty to say at other times. I'm not going to go down there because all the drivers are now in the car. We're really, really late on the grid. Let me just see if I can catch Coulthard down at the front here. Is DC anywhere to be seen? Yes, he is. Okay, here we go. Let's have a final word from DC. DC, sorry to interrupt you, old buddy. How's it going? How's it looking?
I think the basic pace of the car, balance-wise, this morning was quite good, but obviously I'm out of grid position here, really, from qualifying, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to leapfrog the guys in front.
Can you win this race from here?
With reliability issues you have the first race, yes. In a straight race, I would say unlikely.
Well, you think the Ferrari's going to scamper away?
I think that they're looking pretty good through practice. They've been setting the pace, and we've been playing catch-up, and they've got a clean track, and I've got BMW and a Jordan in front of me.
There's a few million British mates there watching and wishing you good luck. Thanks a lot. Back to you in the studio.
Yes, good luck to David, winner of our first ITV race here back in 1997. Fantastic spectacle here at this Australian Grand Prix, I have to say, is my personal favourite. Melbourne, a lovely city, Albert Park, a very special venue indeed, and the sport always comes up fresh after the winter break. The race itself always develops and delivers huge dollops of drama. Applause for the anthem, and we are all set for the off in Australia. back with the ITV F1 team on an overcast but very warm autumn day in Melbourne. 23 degrees the temperature. We're about to see the first chapter in the new Grand Prix season. Settle back and enjoy the Australian Grand Prix now with Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
And from Melbourne, Australia, good afternoon to everybody. It's a fabulous day here, as Jim has just said. It is overcast, but notwithstanding that, the track temperature is 28 degrees. The conditions are just about perfect, and there's a massive crowd here. There's going to have been over 400,000 people watching one part of the Australian Grand Prix or another. The practicing on Friday, the practicing yesterday, and that riveting qualifying session we had yesterday when Michael Schumacher put his Ferrari on the pole position of the grid for the 5th race in succession. I think only Nigel Mansell has done that in the past. And Michael Schumacher, there he is, has won the last 4 races. Rubens Barrichello, his teammate alongside him, and Mika Hakkinen, the man who's won this race in 1998, double world champion, only 3rd on the grid. And my tip is, if the Ferraris and the McLarens do not do well, you've heard Martin talking about the fact that there are reliability questions hanging over their head. Watch Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, I think Frenzen's got a good car underneath him. What the 2 Ferrari boys will be worried about on the front row of the grid is, for sure, Rubens will not want to be fighting Michael into that first corner. We know Michael is not an electric starter normally, excuse the pun, but I noticed down on the grid slot where Michael is, there's been a 3-way competition thing involving last year's Williams, and there's a lot of rubber on the grid. So Michael's got a good slingshot out of that pole position. But the pair of them will be very conscious that Mika Hakkinen there in 3rd place is a brilliant start. And if they try and choreograph too much, that first and indeed the 3rd corners, Hakkinen will be there, I think, to punish them. So looking forward to seeing what happens at the start, right at the very front. And I think mid-pack, as I said, a lot of new drivers in there, and it's very high speed, the first section of this lap, and you're away, you're soon up to 180, 185 miles an hour before you've even reached turn 3. You've been to 180 miles an hour probably twice already, and it is very easy, as I know to my own cost, to trip over somebody on the first lap of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, just a reminder about Michael Schumacher not necessarily being a good starter. He got punted off twice at the start last year in Germany and Austria. It cost him dear. It didn't cost him the World Championship in the end. But there are so many different things this year, and there is one of them, Ralf Schumacher in the Williams, powered by a brand new BMW engine, which seems to be very, very effective indeed, and riding on Michelin tyres. Now there's a massive tyre war going on. Bridgestone have understandably got the whip hand at the present moment because they've had 3 years experience of the kind of tyres that the cars are on now, and you can see the heaters coming off.
Yes, it's surprisingly hot and muggy out there considering how overcast it is. As you pointed out, the track temperature already, Murray. I'm told that the cloud cover's only a few hundred meters thick and there should not be any significant rain, maybe just a little bit of spitting of rain. So we're not expecting the weather to interfere too much with this race, according to the forecast anyway. Coulthard, as he said on the grid, is really at least a line out of position. He was fastest on all through up till Saturday morning, fastest again in the warm-up this morning, had an appalling qualifying for one reason or another, mistakes, red flags, traffic, and he's out of position. He's got an interesting tactical race to run, has David Coulthard. This, I would imagine, for all of the key players, should be a one-stop. It's fractionally faster. I'm sure James Allen's already taken you through this. It's fractionally faster as a 2-stopper, but that relies on no traffic when you're lapping them, no hold-ups when you're lapping the slower cars, and also you need track position here. So I think they'll one stop, and that puts a lot of pressure on the brakes.
Just look at the heat haze in about green lights in Melbourne, and off they go for the parade lap, the formation lap, which gives Martin an opportunity to tell you about this magnificent Melbourne Albert Park circuit.
That's a very high shot, of course, from the helicam there, but turn 1 looks so easy, doesn't it? Sweeping into that turn 2. The Ferrari is absolutely mighty through there, and but they're all fast. I've been around Formula 1 cars for 18 years now, and it's a long time since I've gone to a corner and stood back and said, wow, you get used to the speed, you become comfortable with the amazing speeds of a Formula 1 car after a time. But I have to say, when I was out there with Marky on the first corner and some other corners on Friday, just the arrival speed and turn in and grip and commitment of these latest cars. Remember, despite having the groove tyres, they're some 2.6 seconds faster than the fastest ever lap around this racetrack from some time ago, with theoretically much more aerodynamics and much more rubber on the track. The cars are absolutely superbly fast and committed, and that's why you're seeing a lot of drivers make mistakes. They're carrying so much speed into the corners, if they get it slightly wrong, they're always going to run wide. They're not going to tippy-toe their way around the corners. They're down now. That's a very, very long shot to be able to talk too much about the racetrack, but into 11 and 12, so 150 miles an hour, and then 130 through the second part, and immediately straight back up to 170 miles an hour before turn 13 there, which is relatively easy. Good grip around the outside of 13, and then a difficult 14. You have to trail the throttle. You want to get on with it, but you have to be patient, and then try not to outbrake yourself into the little Mickey Mouse left. That is 15. Schumacher's just turning through now. Try to keep it inside there, grab a bit of curb to pluck the front of the car around, and then 16, the final corner, very, very important. I see on the computer screen an investigation involving car 8, which is Jenson Button, is under investigation by the stewards. We have no idea what that could be at the moment. Maybe he did not get off the line and has rejoined his grid position in the queue, in the snake, and if so, he will be disqualified.
So, Michael Schumacher on the right of your screen, pole position. On his right, your left, Rubens Barrichello. Behind Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, and behind Rubens Barrichello is the yellow Jordan Honda Works engine of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Fifth on the grid, the white and blue BMW Williams of Ralf Schumacher, and in sixth position it is David Coulthard, as Bernaldi, driving for his first Grand Prix in the arrows in the background, peels into position. Incidentally, both the Minardis are in because Tarso Marquez, there he is in the background, was given a dispensation, although he just failed to qualify outside time. So it's ready, and in Australia it is go, 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 and Schumacher leads. Brilliant start, Häkkinen up into second position. Barrichello is down there, and Ralf Schumacher is up alongside Frentzen, who takes third position. Off onto the grass goes, I think it was Montoya, but anyway, it's Schumacher leading. That's what he wanted. He's got a magnificent start, and look at Ralf Schumacher, fourth position. Down to fifth place goes Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, Michael had a blistering start. It was Barrichello that was slow away and held up Coulthard and Frentzen. That's Irvine off in turn 1. Didn't he have a problem there in turn 3 rather? He had a problem there last year, I think, on the first lap of this Grand Prix for Jaguar. And then Coulthard getting pinched, everybody caught up behind at Rubens Barrichello, if we see a replay. But it's played beautifully into Schumacher's hands. But look, Häkkinen is also there, ready to pounce.
Sensational bit of passing there by Kimi Räikkönen, the Finn. He's only 21 years old. There he is in the Sauber with the Ferrari engine, and it's his first Grand Prix. It's only his 24th car race, and he's been a sensation in practice. But now Michael Schumacher has got a fairly sizable gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen about the same distance behind them. So it's Ferrari, McLaren, Jordan. There is Ralf Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, and behind Barrichello is Jarno Trulli in sixth position. David Coulthard has lost the place. He's down to seventh position. Jack Villeneuve is eighth. And here comes Schumacher completing lap 1 in this 58-lap race. It's got a long, long way to go. This race is going to last an hour and 30 minutes at least. But Michael Schumacher has got it by the throat. Now, let's just simmer down for a moment and remember what everybody's been saying. Reliability is going to be the name of the game in this race. You heard Martin saying that in his view, neither Ferrari nor McLaren had done a genuine race distance in testing. They've both had problems here and they could have problems again because they are all under pressure. All the cars now are designed right to the edge of the envelope for performance and the balance with reliability. Michael Schumacher led by 1.2 seconds at the end of the first lap, and Mika Häkkinen has just done a very quick first sector. This circuit, like all of them, is divided into 3 sectors, each of which are individually timed, and it enables us to tell you exactly what is happening in terms of the gaps. As you look at the yellow Jordan in the background, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, he has been very cautious about talking about the new Jordan this year, but after qualifying he said, I can now come out in the open and tell you that this is a fabulous motor car. And it's fabulous. We're riding with Frentzen. Now we are round about coming up
14.
to turn 14.
15 and then 16 into the last turn there, Murray. And look, reasonable grip there. He did not have to correct the car at all. Frentzen's car working very nicely in these cooler conditions today. Over the grid hatchings as he head down to turn 1, the Jones corner, about 183, 184 miles an hour. Hook the apex on the inside, ride the yellow line on the left, and just let the car have its head sweep to the outside and be ready now. Diagonal the straight for the shortest route down into turn 3. Don't brake too late, otherwise you'll just understeer wide. And it's a bit of no man's land here through the car park of turn 4 and 5, and we're now watching Frentzen from another angle, sweeping through 5 over the curbs.
And look at Rubens Barrichello. He's really flying. He's closed up right on the rear wing of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Very poor start for Barrichello. Remember, he started second on the grid. He's down into 4th place and he's going for it.
Yes, and they're going to touch there, guaranteed.
Off goes Frentzen.
Barrichello has tremendous speed. He may even be on a lighter fuel load. He was just all over the back of that Jordan like a bad suit, and he really wasn't quite far enough up into the inside of turn 9 there before, I mean, Frentzen had to turn in. He had no choice. And Barrichello, a bit of a look, here's the replay, and he's coming in from too far away. It's already into the turn-in zone, and well, Rubens, that's your fault, but you got away with it.
Well, Rubens Barrichello has improved his position, but he's paid a terrific price in terms of reputation there. He won't have done it deliberately, but it's happened anyway. He is now up into 3rd position. Can he close on Mika Häkkinen ahead of him? Here is Schumacher, and it looks to me as though Häkkinen has closed the gap. It was 1.2 seconds, and over the line they go into turns 1 and 2. Barrichello 3rd. David Coulthard is up into 4th position from his 6th position on the grid. 5th is Jarno Trulli, and in 6th place is Ralf Schumacher, who's lost a place.
Yes, I don't know where Ralf Schumacher has had a problem, but surely he has dropped down. So that's put Barrichello with that spin then of Frentzen, helped very much by the front left wheel of Rubens Barrichello. Put Barrichello into 3rd. David Coulthard then up to 4th, and I'd like to see a replay of the start. We were so close to a big accident. I could see it outside the commentary box window here, and quite a lot of the front runners were getting together. They managed to just about keep it under control, and Häkkinen can match Michael Schumacher, no doubt about it. Häkkinen has the car underneath him to at least stay with Schumacher, and it has appeared up till now that Ferrari may have a 1/4 of a second, a 1/3 of a second advantage per lap, but at the moment it's not showing.
Well, as we've seen in the past, it is the 2 rivals up ahead, because there's Barrichello. Behind Barrichello is David Coulthard. Here's that replay.
Yeah, here's the start look, and it needs to be a bit earlier on than that, but actually, yeah, it was Barrichello that bundled them all up. The Jordans got through well. Montoya, we think, got pushed off in the first corner, but literally not far away from the grid hatchings. They were really getting together, and they got away with it nicely. Watching Coulthard through the last turn now, currently P4, but he is 6.6 seconds down on the leader.
Now we're on to lap 5 now, so watch Schumacher and Häkkinen, and there is David Coulthard, and I'll tell you the positions. Schumacher's leading Häkkinen by 1.3 seconds. Barrichello is 3rd, and Coulthard, there he is 4th. Jarno Trulli is in 5th position ahead of Ralf Schumacher, the top Michelin driver. Jack Villeneuve in the BAR is 7th ahead of his teammate Panis. 9th is Jos Verstappen in the Arrows. 10th is Nick Heidfeld. 11th is Fisichella. Now that's terrific because Fisichella started way down on the grid in 17th position and he's now up into 11th place in the Benetton ahead of Montoya. And out goes Ralf Schumacher.
No rear wing on that Williams of Schumacher's, probably after he's connected with the wall, but we'll have to wait for a replay. Did he lose the rear wing first? Looks almost certain that he lost the car, then the rear wing, doesn't it, given the dust and the bits and pieces laying all over the place. So Ralf then off the road. Let's have a look. Oh, big shunt.
Oh, that's the BAR. I wonder, it's Villeneuve. I wondered why the marshals were not looking at Schumacher as they ran away. Jacques Villeneuve, a tremendous crash.
Safety car, Murray. The race will now be controlled by the safety car, and Villeneuve there, I think it's down in turn 3, isn't it, where they connected.
That's your turn.
He has my piece of gravel there, and Villeneuve there connecting very, very badly with the wall. He should be okay. The problem is you do sit on the floor of these cars, and it's the floor of the car that hit the wall there for Villeneuve, and your backside literally is just a few millimetres of carbon fibre away from the action there. But so the race is neutralised under the safety car. All of these laps count, of course. There's an arrows in the wall there.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I think it's Bernoldi's car. Yes, it is. Enrique Bernoldi, the Brazilian, starting in his first Grand Prix, didn't last very long. Look at the debris there. You know that corner well.
The problem is with this kind of accident, there's a lot of shards of carbon fibre, and it's so easy to pick up a puncture just cruising through this sort of crash zone here, and it's so easy to get something very sharp in the tyre and have a problem 2 or 3 laps down the road.
Now, let me tell you what happens here. Let me tell you what caused it, first of all. Obviously, Jacques Villeneuve trying to get through on the inside with Ralf Schumacher. So out goes the BAR, out goes the Williams. The safety car has come out. The lights on the roof are flashing. Everybody has to line up behind it until the debris has been removed from the track and it's judged safe to drive on again. And then the safety car will turn its lights out and pull into the pit lane.
This lap, Murray.
On this lap,
this
right,
lap.
thanks,
so
Martin.
Villeneuve's clear of the car, look. They're just going to bring the crane in, so they know they've got about 2.5 minutes of pace behind that safety car. They practice with the safety car, just like any other car runner, so they know how long it takes, and that's good action there to get this race underway. Might be a touch early, actually. They've got to clear. Oh,
that was a terrific blow. Now, and let me tell you that no passing is allowed until they have passed the start and finish point on the track.
Villeneuve is okay. So Villeneuve is out of the car and he is okay. I can see on a diamond screen outside the commentary box here, Villeneuve on the back of a motorcycle recovering to the pits. So
isn't that amazing?
Good news here. That
isn't
was
that amazing?
A big shunt.
Yeah. Now, once again, it emphasises how incredibly strong these modern Formula One cars are. David Coulthard then up into 4th place now, followed by Jarno Trulli and Olivier Panis.
Well, I did say I thought the safety car was coming in a tad early. It's now a new message. The safety car will not come in this lap. There's just a bit too much debris. We'll be back shortly.
Mika Häkkinen, Rubens Barrichello, David Coulthard, siinä 4 kärkiä. Kaikki tietysti näitä kärkitallin miehiä. Jarno Trulli 5. Jordanilla, 6. Bartallin Olivier Panis, eli Jacques Villeneuven tallikaveri joutuu nyt yksikseen siellä puolustamaan tallinsa mainetta. Arrowsilla Jos Verstappen 7. ja Jos Verstappen, samalla kun näemme tässä näitä auton romuja, näin voidaan sanoa, Jacques Villeneuven autosta ei ole mitään muuta jäljellä kuin tuo monokokki, mutta kuten tietysti tämäkin kuva osoittaa, niin monokokki on täysin kunnossa. Ralf Schumacherkin käy siinä vähän huolestuneena katsomassa, että mitä siellä oikein on Villeneuven auton sisällä tapahtunut. Onko polkimet esimerkiksi samassa järjestyksessä kuin ne oli lähtiessä? Toisaalta mistä hän tietää, missä järjestyksessä ne edes oli lähtiessä. Verstappen siis 7. Kimin tallikaveri Nick Heidfeld 8. Benetton kuljettaja Giancarlo Fisichella 9. 10. Juan Pablo Montoya. 11. Jenson Button. 12. Jean Alesi. Kimi Räikkönen ajaa siinä Alesiin perässä edelleen, on 13. Heinz-Harald Frentzen 14. 15. Luciano Burti. 16. Fernando Alonso. Ja perää pitää tällä hetkellä Eddie Irvine 17. tilalla. Ja siinä oli muuten Enrique Bernoldin auto voihan sitä tuollaistakin pyörähdykseksi kutsua. Tässä ei enää pyörähdellä, vaan tässä kuvassa pyöräillään.
Sellaisia tietoja tuosta Villeneuven tilanteesta, että hänet on mahdollisesti nähty myös skootterin päällä. Eli sehän kertoo siitä, että mitään vakavaa ei ole tapahtunut, mutta tämä nyt on vielä vahvistamatonta tietoa. Toivotaan, että pitää kuitenkin paikkansa.
Joo, kyllähän se tietysti, mutta näin Jyrki jo sieltä Teksasista käsin. Valtameren, Helsingistä päin katsottuna Valtameren toisella puolen kertoi, että jossain kuvissa oli vähän vilattanut, että Villeneuve olisi omin voimin sieltä autosta tullut pois, mikä luonnollisesti on se tärkein asia. 5 kuljettajaa on poissa pelistä, eikä tätä kilpailua ajettu kuin 6 kierrosta täyteen, ja niistäkin pari on vedetty turva-auton perässä. Ralf Schumacher siis keskeytti, niin kuin teki myös Jacques Villeneuve. Tarso Marquezin tilanne on se, että hänkin on pysähtynyt tuonne radalle ja ilmeisesti myöskin keskeyttänyt.
Here at Melbourne, the safety car is still out, which I, for one, we're on lap 7 out of 58 now, I, for one, am very pleased about, because it was a failure to retrieve all the debris that may have caused the terrible death of Ayrton Senna at Imola in '94. Look at it again.
Yeah, that's a long way before the corner. We're getting a message back to the commentary box that maybe Villeneuve had some kind of technical problem. He just wasn't slowing down. And of course, his the difference in speed there is massive. So it looks like he was not ready for the braking area at all. And that's a wake-up call, I'm afraid, for everybody involved in Formula One, because we're so sure the cars and circuits are virtually as safe as you can make them, and it really is very safe for the drivers now. And something like that is so scary both for the driver and the spectator. I thought the cameraman did well to keep focused on it as well, actually, with that lot coming towards him. But a bit of an update then also on Jenson Button. I mentioned right at the beginning he was under investigation by the stewards. Apparently he went out in the spare car whilst his race car was still parked on the grid. This is in the formation period before the start of the race, and at the moment we haven't seen any sign of a penalty for Jenson Button, who is now, with all the carnage that's going on, up to a fine 11th place. After you, Murray.
Behind his, 2 places behind his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella. Gives me the opportunity to tell you, that those of you who didn't know, that the Benettons this year very much changed team. They're using a Renault engine, and Louise is with Jacques Villeneuve.
Jacques, horrendous accident. First things first, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Any ideas what happened?
Yeah, Ralph was in the middle of the track, and I wasn't sure which way he would let me overtake him, on the inside or the outside. And when I finally went for the outside, that's when he hit the brakes, and I had no time to move to the outside.
Glad to see you're all right, thanks.
Well, Grand Prix drivers never cease to amaze me, never cease to command my respect. How anybody can have a calm, dispassionate conversation with Louise like Jacques has just had after what he's just gone through is beyond my understanding. They are indeed supermen. And we're now on lap 8 out of 58 because the race continues behind the pace car. It's in effect, well, it is in a hold position, but the laps that they do still count. So at the end of this one, 50 to go.
I'll tell you what it is about turn 3. It's you're going through concrete walls, you get a bit of tunnel vision, and there's a slight right curve all the way down there, and you get sucked into the area, and especially if you're close to other cars, your eye goes on them, and turn 3 always comes up on you faster than you think it's going to. The cars accelerate so massively quickly, and it seems as if Jacques didn't have a technical problem then, as the reports are coming from the pits, but more like his eye was slightly off the ball, and Ralph clearly parked his car right in the middle of the racetrack to make it as difficult as he could, and Villeneuve was trying to sweep back across the racetrack and connected with the back of him.
Well, now, I know they listen to me closely in the production department. There are 2 real rivals together on the track now. Montoya, who's in 10th position in his first Grand Prix driving for Williams, and Jenson Button, who left the Williams team, now away with Montoya now, and just behind him is his rival Jenson Button in the Benetton, who has clawed his way up through the field, and ahead of Montoya is, you can see, the blue Benetton of Giancarlo Fisichella, and it's going to be mighty interesting to see how the BMW engine of Montoya's Williams there copes with the new Renault 111-degree V10 engine of Jenson Button's Benetton when they get the go signal.
Well, judging by the straight line speed differences, I think Montoya should have a chance of breezing past Fisichella on one of the long straights here in Melbourne. But the problem is now these tyres run by maybe 17, 18 PSI. And at this point, they'll be down 12, 13 PSI. So the car will run a couple of millimetres lower. The tyres will have less grip. And it's going to be very, very tricky when they restart this race. The cars bottom out, and really they become quite unpredictable. Nothing the drivers can do about them without the speeds and without the downforce. Remember, it's like an aeroplane upside down. It's the wings push the car into the track, generate a lot of energy, which builds up your tyre temperature, therefore your tyre pressure, to make them correct. And at the moment, none of those cars have the correct tyre pressures.
Here's another battle to watch out for when the race begins. Sixth position at the moment is Olivier Panis, who used to drive for Ligier and last year was McLaren's third driver and their test driver. He's in the BAR and he's just ahead of Jos the Boss, the Dutchman. There he is in the orange arrows, and Verstappen is a fine 7th place. He's really, really matured, has Jos Verstappen. The Arrows has got the new Asia Tech engine in it. It's a much improved motor car. And just behind Verstappen is Nick Heidfeld. He's a bit of a sensation this year because with the Sauber he's in a car that's worthy of his reputation.
Bit of news from Louise in the pits. Apparently Heidfeld is claiming that Verstappen overtook him under the yellows. But it's a question of the stewards having seen that. But Heidfeld complaining. And well, this is a bit odd now. I'm surprised that in the safety car, it said at 14:11, the safety car, local time of course, would come in, and here we are at 14:21, and it's still out there. We did get the new message saying it will not come in, but clearly they're still struggling to get rid of the debris down at turn 3.
So there is Jean Alesi in the Prost, followed by Kimi Räikkönen and Heinz-Harald Frentzen down in 14th position after that spin of his when he made contact with, or rather when Rubens Barrichello made contact with him. Race order when it restarts. Michael Schumacher, Ferrari. Mika Häkkinen, McLaren. Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari. David Coulthard, McLaren. Jarno Trulli, Jordan. Olivier Panis, BAR. 7th, Jos Verstappen in the Arrows. 8th position, Nick Heidfeld. 9th is Fisichella, and 10th is Juan Montoya. Jenson Button is 11th, and Jean Alesi is 12th. And there are 17 left out of the 22 started. Last is Eddie Irvine.
Yes, 17 cars, as you say. I think any 6 of those could win this race still. There's a long afternoon ahead of us, and I think any one of the 17 could score World Championship points this afternoon. This is going to be a race of attrition, and as they keep tripping over each other, it's getting the field thin very, very quickly.
Any clues, Martin, on what might be causing? I've been watching very carefully around the edges of the track to see what the problem is.
Bit concerned, some information I'm getting through that I think there's still an ambulance down at turn 3, and it's possible a bit of debris or something has made contact with a corner marshal or some TV people down there or something like that. Hopefully not. But I think they must have cleared the debris away by now, and I'm concerned that there might be somebody else injured down there.
Well, let us hope that that is not the case, although I fear it may be because of the way the cars are out on the track. Meantime, of course, there is the confirmation. There is a problem of some kind there, and we're going to leave Melbourne for a couple of minutes.
Luukku auki ja siellä on paarit ja kaikki, ettei vaan siellä olisi nyt jälleen ratavalvojille tai lippumiehille jotakin sattunut. Nyt toivotaan, että näin ei ole. Tietysti heti kun tietoja tulee, niin otamme mielellään sellaisen. Tämä tietysti myöskin sinne Antille pyyntö, että jos yhtään mitään tietoa tulee tuolta kaarteesta, jossa tämä onnettomuus on tapahtunut. Edelleen mennään safety carin perässä. Me menemme nyt pienelle hengähdystauolle ja palaamme sitten takaisin.
this race has now been running, because it is still on behind the safety car. It's been running for nearly 15 minutes, and obviously it's going to dramatically extend the race time in total, which I expected to be about 1.5 hours when it began. We're on lap 11 out of 58 now, and in case you missed it, the reason the safety car is staying out for so long is that there is some kind of a medical problem where the cars went off. We fear, although I've had no official statement about this, I must emphasise, that somebody may have been hit with a bit of debris, and that would undoubtedly be the problem. But there they are, dodging about is Olivier Panis, who is in 6th position.
Well, whilst giving full respect to anybody who may have been injured down in that corner, the teams will have to be staying focused. And here we go, look, and that's a long, long way before the corner. That really, before the turning point of that corner, is very early in the braking zone. And Villeneuve has been caught out, really. Misunderstanding. Yes, Murray?
No, sorry, Martin. I was just going to say, I was watching very carefully the right-hand side of the screen there to see whether anything from Villeneuve's car might have actually gone into the crowd. And I noticed that the car went slap bang into the concrete barrier, and there are big, very, very heavy wire, you can see them there, wire netting barriers between the crowd and a high point. So hopefully, with the crowd well behind, it would only be a comparatively minor bit of debris. Who knows, though?
No, there was a lot of pieces coming off the car, unfortunately, Murray. But I was saying that the teams are going to have to stay focused. We are still in a Grand Prix, and the significance of this safety car situation is the cars, as I said, they're a minute a lap slower. They're cruising around at very low RPM. They're using a lot less fuel. And this race is critical. We think it's a one-stopper. We think they'll all run as far as they can before they come in, so that they can maximise their time on empty tanks, and the cars will be much, much faster at that point. And so the teams have to now recalculate, as every time they come past behind that Mercedes-Benz, recalculate how much further they can get in this race now than they had first anticipated.
Yeah, Ralf Schumacher, so you probably heard James Allen's piece before the race began, and he very wisely pointed out that Ralf Schumacher stayed out very late last year in the Williams, lap 38, which was 2/3 of the race distance, and then he came in for new tyres and fuel, and that lifted him from 11th position to 3rd place, which is where he finished the race, behind Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, who made it a Ferrari 1-2 last year. Jacques Villeneuve, who's gone out so heavily this year, to score no points, of course, was in 4th place last year. Still no news, I'm afraid, about when the Australian Grand Prix is going to start at racing speeds, but hopefully that is a good sign as we see the ambulance drive away now. And I reckon that's a turn. That ambulance there is getting away. The road to the hospital is very, very close. Earlier shots showed you Queen's Road and St Kilda Road, which are two parallel roads here in Melbourne, which run right alongside the racetrack. You get this strange situation of looking at race cars and also everyday public touring cars just going about their business in the city. Well, now, what is the news? When is the safety car coming in? Because it looks to me as though the track is getting clear altogether of the medical appliances, the ambulance, the medical car, which leads them round. Not the sort of sight that you want to see at a Grand Prix.
That's a difficult situation there, really. The safety car driver had a real problem on his hands. Does he keep the field going past the ambulance?
I'm wondering
where the ambulance had to move out wide. Probably the quickest way, actually, just to let the field go past.
We're on round about turn 9 now, where you can see the Albert Park Lake up on top of your pictures there. And the long left-hander that they're coming towards is turn 10. You're probably going to turn off at the end of the lap. That's presumably the quickest way to wherever it needs to go. And I suppose the safety car will do a lap after this one and then come in. I say suppose because I don't really know. We're on lap 12 now, so that means that the race, if I'm right, would there we are, there's Queen's Road at the bottom of your picture. The race would effectively restart on lap 14 out of 58, so there would still be 44 racing Well, you've just got the answer on your screen with that caption. 46 laps remaining. I reckon there's this one and maybe even the next one before the race restarts. So watch those lights on the top of the safety car, because when they go out, the drivers will see it, of course, and they will know that the safety car is going to peel into the pit lane, and that when they cross the start and finish line and have received the green light from the gantry over the start, the race will be go again at racing speed.
Yes, traditionally a safety car puts its lights out and does another complete lap, but in Formula One they've shortened that process up a lot, and they can bring that safety car in at any time. They can make that decision during this lap. They do not have to give the teams a full lap's notice of that, because they have the computer system, the email system on the pit wall, and they can get the information to all the team managers instantaneously, so they can make a quicker decision to get this race back underway. But clearly that ambulance has got to be completely clear of the racetrack and the pit lane before they can even consider that decision.
Reminder of the retirement so far. Ralf Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve very much out of the race as a result of that colossal collision. Tarso Marquez is out in the Minardi. Enrique Benoldi, his Brazilian countryman, is out in the Arrows. And Gaston Mazzacani, the Argentinian driver, is out in the second Prost. His teammate, Jean Alesi, is circulating in 12th position. So we are now on lap 14, 44 to go. There is Heinz-Harald Frentzen now. He's got a race to drive, because he's dropped back from that third position he was in to 14th position. Ahead of him is Kimi Raikkonen. Ahead of him is Jean Alesi. Jenson Button is in 11th position in the Benetton. And there, bringing up the rear, Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar. His teammate Luciano Berti is actually ahead of him in 15th position. Well, the safety car's getting a lot of experience. So you see the rubber crumb in the background on the corner there. That's literally rubber that's been ground off the tyres, and the cars are doing a lot of slipping and sliding about in these conditions with reduced aerodynamic downforce. The regulations have been changed this year. The front wing is 50 millimetres higher than it was last year. They're allowed less elements in the rear wing. The result is that there is less downforce and normally less grip. But the new tyres, as a result of the war between Bridgestone and Michelin, are so superior that they have more than compensated for the loss of downforce. Indeed, the fastest lap in qualifying yesterday broke the previous lap record and was no less than 4 seconds faster than Mika Häkkinen's pole position last year.
End of this lap then, Murray. End of this lap. What they probably should do now is let the, and in a lot of races, the man at the front becomes the safety car, if you like, and Arrows there, that's quite a clever move in many ways. Verstappen obviously on a 2-stop this afternoon, otherwise I think that may well be pointless. But Arrows then, they're losing very little time by doing that, because he can easily catch the snake up before the race restarts. James, what can you tell us?
James Allen has news.
Interesting move that, Murray, to bring in the Arrows, as you say. There's a few of them been hurt by this. I think there's 2 stoppers. We're looking at Heidfeld, I believe, possibly also Montoya, who I think were on a 2-stop strategy. And there's a lot of frantic recalculating going on down here. I'm frantically recalculating as well. We've had about well, 7 or 8 laps now of safety car, and that's an awful lot of fuel saving. We're expecting to see cars come in the mid-30 laps sort of period. It's going to push them out towards the late 30s, early 40s, and of course it's only a 58-lap race, so it's really a lot of very clever thinking going on. The field all bunched up, the brakes have been protected, however the car has been protected. A lot more cars are going to finish because of this long safety car period, so a lot of brain work going on down here.
Yes, we've had 24.5 minutes under the safety car, best part of 10 laps. So 10 laps then under the safety car, and they've probably used, I would imagine, about a quarter of the amount of fuel they would normally use. So that's what they're recalculating. But of course they have telemetry, Murray, so the teams will know to 2 decimal places exactly how much fuel their car's been using under this safety car situation.
Saw a puff of smoke there from
Schumi warming his brakes up. Schumacher locking a right front as he's that's a good way of trying to build up some front tyre temperature. Pump 500, 600, 700 degrees into your brake disc, and at least it dissipates a bit through the tyres. So they're accelerating hard now, braking hard, anything they can to try to recover tyre temperature and tyre pressure.
Mika Häkkinen letting Michael Schumacher know he's there. Rubens Barrichello letting Mika Häkkinen know he's there. David Coulthard is fourth. I'm here, Rubens. Behind David Coulthard is Jarno Trulli, and behind Trulli is Panis.
Yeah, and Häkkinen saying to Michael, get on with it. Michael locking his brakes again there. The brakes are still cold as well, of course.
The safety car comes in. They can't pass until they reach the line. And Michael Schumacher is over it now, with Häkkinen second, Barrichello third, Coulthard fourth. Trulli is in fifth position in the yellow Jordan. Panis is in sixth position. We are back at racing speed. We're on lap 16 out of 58, and the Australian Grand Prix is go again. Now watch Jarno Trulli. He's got that very powerful Honda engine in the Jordan, which is handling extremely well now. He's closed up on the tail of David Coulthard's McLaren, and David Coulthard is now ahead of his grid position, well ahead of it. He's gained 2 places as a result of everything. He started 6th and he's now 4th as this long crocodile of Formula 1 800 horsepower cars makes its way round this 3.3 mile circuit.
With a bunch of very cautious drivers, it'd be so easy to have a bite of the wall in these conditions. Take them, I think, a couple of laps. Obviously this year with softer tyres, they're going to recover them earlier than they would have done in the past, but it'll still take them, I think, a good 2 laps before they have the confidence to bury the car deep into the braking zone.
Now, I always think a Formula 1 car looks quick, but this year they look frighteningly quick. They are quicker on the straight because of the reduced downforce. They're quicker on the corners because of the grippier tyres, and as I've just told you, the lap times have come tumbling down, and they are a visual sensation in my belief. So, Michael Schumacher crosses the line. He was 4/10 of a second ahead of Häkkinen on the previous lap. He's now 9/10 of a second ahead. He's doubled his lead. It doesn't look very much, but Michael Schumacher has got the pedal to the metal with a vengeance.
This is Schumacher territory when there's unknown levels of grip. He always seems to be able to run closer to the limit earlier and longer than anybody else. Now let's see if Häkkinen can peg that back, as he did in the first start. There's a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for Jenson Button, car number 8. That could well be because of the incident on the start line where he had effectively 2 cars on the racetrack, a technical thing contrary to the regulations. So a stop-and-go for Button, who's currently in 10th place.
Now, McLaren have really suffered from a reliability point of view at the last 2 Australian Grand Prix. Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, who incidentally are entering a record 6th year of partnership in the team, the longest that there's ever been in Formula 1. Ferrari got their vengeance last year by finishing 1st and 2nd, thanks to not only supreme speed but also reliability. And it was that paid off for them over the whole season, because the points that McLaren lost at the beginning of the season really hurt them. So they've got to try to finish in the points at all costs this year. And it's 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, as before, coming through to complete another lap. Now, the gap was 9/10 of a second. Michael Schumacher has just made the fastest lap of the race, and he has increased his lead from 9/10 of a second to 1.2 seconds.
Well, unsurprisingly, it's just like qualifying. Häkkinen pegged Schumacher in the first 2 sectors, couldn't touch him in that last sector. Michael has really got a nice groove and commitment through that last few turns of the racetrack, and Mika then just about hanging on.
Mika and Arja Häkkinen have had a baby over the winter, and a lot of people have been suggesting that it might slow Häkkinen down. I reminded them that Michael Schumacher has 2 children. It's never slowed him down, and it doesn't seem to be slowing Mika at all either.
Got the impression, talking to Mika, he was quite pleased to be away to get to work, and I don't think he's had too many full nights of sleep, I get the impression.
Now you saw there Olivier Panis as we see them coming through the field. So there is Jenson Button, and up behind him now Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's gained 2 places. Frentzen has got ahead of Alesi, he's got ahead of Berti, Luciano Berti, and John Alesi is in 14th position. Hakkinen second.
Well, after the stunning times we've seen from that Prost over the winter, the Prost Ferrari really thought they'd be in better shape here, especially John Alesi. Haven't seen any kind of pace from that Prost at all, and that's surprising. He set a new lap record at one of the circuits, Barcelona I think it was, but Alesi struggling. Button still down there in 11th. When you're given a 10-second stop-and-go penalty, you've got 3 laps. You must come in before 3 full laps are up to take that penalty.
Doesn't look like it on the screen, but Mika Hakkinen is still dropping back a bit. The lead of Michael Schumacher has increased to 1.3 seconds. At the other end of the field, in 17th place as you watch, Hakkinen second and Barrichello in 3rd position. I can tell you that Louise Goodman is with Ralf Schumacher.
Ralph, very dramatic accident. I guess you saw most of it in your rearview mirrors.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I just saw Jack coming up behind me, then fell and crashing into me. That was all. I mean, I just saw him flying away. Hope for myself that he didn't crash into something, and climbed out of the car, looked after Jack. The only sad thing is that the marshals were hurt again.
Well, there is his brother Michael in the lead. Ralf Schumacher will be pleased about that. Very sorry for himself, and with every justification if he judges that it was not his error, because he finished in 3rd position here last year in a car that nobody expected to be in the top 6, never mind the top 3. And this year the BMW engine is giving that new Williams terrific performance. Now, what about Ralf Schumacher's teammate Juan Montoya, the Colombian, the American champ car champion and winner of Indianapolis 500? Well, he is in 11th position, having started, in 8th position, having started 11th. He's gained 3 places. But a fine 7th ahead of him is Nick Heidfeld, and in the top 10, as he forecast he would be, the amazing Kimi Räikkönen from Finland in his first Grand Prix in the 2nd Sauber.
Yeah, the future of Grand Prix racing is safe. You've got Räikkönen, Alonso and a lot of other young drivers in this field that are showing just absolute brilliance from a very early stage, and it's reassuring to know there's a lot of great young drivers on their way through already.
Now the heart of Australia has gone out to an Australian-Italian team this last few days, because Australian entrepreneur and aviation boss Paul Stoddart bought the Minardi team a few weeks ago and has breathed new life into it. His people at Ledbury in Gloucestershire and now Faenza in Italy have been working together with his airline, shuttling people backwards and forwards. And Minardi is looking on the up and up again. They've got a brilliant young driver in Fernando Alonso. He is in 15th position at the moment in his first Grand Prix in a car that has had to be put together with enormous speed and accuracy in just those 6 weeks.
Well, the Australian Grand Prix has always been, over the course of time, pretty kind to the Brits, but it's not happening today. Coulthard in a slightly trailing 4th. Michael Schumacher now a 1 minute 29.6, so finding a lot of grip at the front of the field and confidence now. And right down at the back end of the field is Jenson Button in 17th, Eddie Irvine in 14th. So the Brits not cutting the mustard today.
Well, we might have been expecting 1 stop, so round about lap 30 originally. We know they're going to be a lot later. Martin and I have been working away up here. I know James Allen is working away down there at forecasting when they're going to come in. Let us know when you're ready, James. But as I say, a late stop would be round about lap 38. We're on lap 20 at the present moment, with therefore 38 laps to go. Michael Schumacher is continuing to increase his pace. He's just gone faster than ever in the first sector as we look at Nick Heidfeld being pursued by Montoya. So Heidfeld in the Sauber Ferrari, in now we're with Montoya. Martin, talk us through it.
Talking through it, he's hanging on for grim death. I'm wincing here watching Montoya trying to get to grips with that car on the way out of 10 and 11. You've got to look for a tiny little piece of curb. There it is, look. And it's so difficult to see at 150 miles now. There's a real yahoo on the exit. A lot of people had some 360s coming out of there. Spot of water on Montoya's camera there. probably coming off of the back of Heidfeld's car. We don't see any signs of rain outside, and now back on board with Michael Schumacher. And wow, we're moving around the place today. Jenson Button is recovering. Unfortunately, he's down there in last place.
Lap 22, Michael Schumacher leads Mika Häkkinen by 2.4, an ever-increasing gap. Rubens Barrichello is 2.8 seconds behind Häkkinen, and David Coulthard fourth is 2.3 seconds behind Barrichello. Jarno Trulli, fifth position, nearly 5 seconds behind Coulthard. Olivier Panis completes the top, points scoring sixth, 1.3 seconds behind Trulli. 14 seconds covers the first six. Nick Heidfeld will find seventh. Montoya, as you've just seen, is eighth. Fisichella is ninth. Kimi Räikkönen is 10th, and Frentzen is now up to 11th. Luciano Berti is 12th ahead of Alesi. Eddie Irvine is 14th, and Fernando Alonso in the Minardi still running. 16th is Jos Verstappen, and Jenson Button has dropped right to the rear of the field in the Benetton. Now you can see visually as they go past the powerhouse, approaching turn 13, the gap between Schumacher and Häkkinen, and we will be back soon.
Vajaan kierroksen kesti tämä mainoskatko, nimittäin 21 tuli täyteen silloin kun mentiin, ja nyt tulee 22 kierrosta täyteen. Mika Häkkinen oli edellisen kierroksen jälkeen 2,5 sekuntia perässä, ja nyt tulee paljon eroa lisää. Nyt sitä on 3,1 sekuntia tämän kierroksen jälkeen. Rubens Barrichello 7,2 sekuntia, eli 4 sekuntia Häkkiseen. David Coulthard 8,5 kärkeen, 1,5 eteenpäin Barrichelloon, eli siinä on myöskin hyvä taistelu. Tai oikeastaan ei nyt hyvä taistelu tällä hetkellä ole tuolla aivan kuumimmassa kärjessä, mutta tuosta pronssitilasta on menossa hyvä taistelu. Tämän mukaan on menossa oikein tosi hyvä taistelu Sumin ja Häkkisen välillä, jos ero on noin vähän, mutta uskoisin, että joko kuva valehtelee tai sitten näen jälleen väärin. Sitäkin on tämän viikonlopun aikana päässyt pariinkin otteeseen tapahtumaan. Antti Haajanen varikkoalueella, onko kärkitallien osalta minkäänlaista vipinää varikkopysähdysten muodossa?
No ei vaikuttaisi ainakaan siltä, ainakin tällä hetkellä on hyvin rauhallisen oloista. Yksi McLarenin mies tuossa tuon pitlanein poikki talsi, mutta ainakin vielä ollaan rauhallisia. Tietysti kaikki ovat asemissa, että salama nopeasti ja siitä sitten tietysti singahdetaan tosi toimiin. Se on tietysti hyvä, että minkälaisia teknisiä ongelmia esimerkiksi McLarenilla ei ole ollut. Muun muassa Ron Dennis vielä tuon warm-upin jälkeen vakuutteli tallin autojen olevan erittäin luotettavia. Siellä tosin aamulla muuten epäiltiin tuon warm-upin nopeamman miehen eli David Coulthardin auton moottorissa öljyvuotoa, mutta se oli ilmeisesti sitten turha epäily ja näin. Kaikki vaikuttaa McLarenin ja Mika Häkkisen kannalta hyvältä.
Aika paljon oli todellakin puhetta ennen kauden alkua näistä teknisistä ongelmista kahden kärkikuljettajan, ei kärkikuljettajan vaan kärkitiimin välillä. Eroa nyt 3,4 sekuntia kärkikaksikon välillä, joten sitä tulee jälleen hieman lisää. Ferrarilla paukahti yksi moottori vapaissa harjoitussa Rubens Barricellon autosta. Millä tavalla, Antti, onko mitään tietoa, millä tavalla tämä on niin kuin tiimin henkilökuntaan ja päällystöön vaikuttanut, että ennen kauden alkua oli tekniikkaongelmia ja nyt täällä on mennyt suhteellisen hyvin, paitsi Ferrarilla nyt se yksi kone.
No, silloin kun hyvin menee, niin tyytyväisiä sitä tietysti ollaan.
Tätä minä
Lap 24 out of 58, no change except that Michael Schumacher is easing away from Mika Häkkinen. The gap is now 3.4 seconds. Rubens Barrichello, that we are looking at now in third position, is nearly 5 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen, but still ahead of David Coulthard, who doesn't seem to be able to do anything about the Brazilian in front of him. And as we expected, the battle for the 5th and 6th remaining points scoring positions with the removal of Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW are between a Jordan driver and a BAR driver. They're both powered by the Works Honda engine, and in 5th place at the moment it's Jarno Trulli. But Trulli's last lap was in 1 minute 31.1 seconds. Michael Schumacher's last lap was 1:29.3. He's just completed the fastest lap of the race. He is really on it, is Michael. He is inexorably increasing his lead lap by lap. It's 4.3 seconds now. Olivier Panis with his teammate Jacques Villeneuve out of the race. Looks as though he's likely to be the only BAR point-scoring driver here, provided he finishes the race, and we've still got 34 laps to go. He is in 6th position, and Nick Heidfeld is lapping in the Sauber, 2 seconds behind Panis at almost exactly the same time and speed. The times between the cars from 5th position down to 8th position are very, very close indeed. 1:31.1, truly.
And there's Räikkönen, Räikkönen passing Fisichella for 9th place. A nice, clean move, and Frentzen lining himself up. Remember, Frentzen recovering from a spin in turn 9 that he was very much helped into early in the race by... obviously some kind of problem then for Fisichella, because that's not a normal overtaking place. I was getting ready to wince there again, but Frentzen then recovering from that spin. In this corner he's coming into now when Barrichello pushed him off early in the race.
I don't know, Martin, but I suspect the problem is that Fisichella, like Button, is dramatically down on power.
Well, he sounds like he's got a couple of cylinders missing there, actually, engine 6, so he'll be in the pit soon.
This being the first Grand Prix for the new Renault engine. James Allen, what's the news?
Well, Murray, you really need a computer to work this one out rather than a pen and paper, which is what I've got down here. But I reckon they've saved around 32 kilos of fuel due to that safety car period. And that's about 10 laps worth of fuel. So that means that the one-stoppers, who I expected to see around about lap 35, they can run as long as 45 if they want to. But bear in mind, they'll be on a set of tyres which, although they've been driven very softly for 10 laps, they have nevertheless done 45 laps. I reckon most of them were starting with about 109 kilos and will be coming in for a splash and dash, literally. It's going to be a sprint to the finish, and in an ideal world for Ferrari, I think they would love to come in the same lap as Häkkinen. Häkkinen may have other ideas on that, though.
Yeah, I think they were under the safety car probably a full 11 laps in the engine. I'd be surprised if they saved 10 laps worth of fuel. Only a simple car dealer, but that seems a little bit too many to me. But nonetheless, they're going to be well into the lap 40s, those that are one-stopping, as you rightly say.
Right, well, we'll see. We're on lap 25 at the present moment, and the one thing I'm absolutely sure of is that if Michael Schumacher he keeps going the way he is going, and the Ferrari proves to be reliable, he's going to be winning this Australian Grand Prix for the 2nd year in succession. And out goes Mika Häkkinen from 2nd position. Now, I'm just trying to spot where that is. He's obviously gone heavily into the tyre wall. He's obviously perfectly all right from the way he's walking away. But this is another bad Australian Grand Prix for the McLaren team. It's not reliability this time. It's either a driver problem, just overdoing it, or a car problem. Well, we'll find out later on. But now, David Coulthard is up into 3rd place. Here it is.
Oh, he's arrived at the corner backwards, obviously, and gone in. I would imagine those tyres, no wonder he was looking a bit sore as he was wandering away. Those tyres would have come into the cockpit, so Häkkinen completely out of shape, and I hope they're not going to bring that digger on the track while the cars are coming in there flat out. It'll be covered under double yellows, and I wonder if they need to have the safety car for that one. But they double yellows means workers on the track slow down. It's the responsibility of the driver to slow down when he's got double waved yellows, and they should be doing that. The stewards will be watching closely the sector times, and remember, they've got loops every couple of 100 metres. Häkkinen quite a long way off the road there, but quite clearly there's a bit of rear wing hanging around there, but I wonder where the rest of it is. So I wonder if Häkkinen arrived into that corner. Quite clearly didn't lose it in the corner, not a driving error. He was well out of corner. He arrived in the corner backwards, so just a guess, he may have been minus a bit of rear downforce when he arrived.
Well, Michael Schumacher's lead now over his teammate. We've got a reproduction of the year 2000, because there is Rubens Barrichello with David Coulthard almost breathing down his exhaust pipe. 1 second behind the Ferrari, but Rubens Barrichello is 10.5 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, McLaren third. Up to 4th place comes Jarno Trulli. Up to 5th place comes Olivier Panis. Up to 6th position comes Nick Heidfeld. Now, I've said 1 or 2 harsh things about Sauber over the winter, but Heidfeld is driving a magnificent race. The young German who has been the McLaren test driver in the past and last year drove for the Prost team, who had an awful motor car, is revelling in the new Sauber. It handles extremely well. It's got a Ferrari engine. He's in the points. I remind myself that Mika Salo, driving for Sauber, has finished in the points in the past in Australia in the first race. And traditionally in the past, Sauber have started well, failed to develop the car enough, and have tailed off in the later races of the season. Let's hope that doesn't happen this year, because the car is looking good. And you can see now David Coulthard there, the Flying Scot, trying to close on Rubens Barrichello in front of him, as we watch Fisichella last, being caught and being about to be lapped in the Benetton by that man, Michael Schumacher Ferrari, who is on his 29th lap out of 58, leading Rubens Barrichello by 9.7 seconds.
Yes, Fisichella's 13 seconds a lap off the pace. You can hear why. Yes, there he goes. Obviously Benetton desperately trying to get as many laps under their belt as they can, see if they can learn something else before the engine lets go. Can't see a lot of point myself when you're 13 seconds off the pace, and if it does lunch itself, it's going to spill an awful lot of bits and oil on the racetrack.
Michael Schumacher goes flying past Giancarlo Fisichella, who got a tongue lashing from Flavio Briatore, the Benetton team boss, last year. The implication being that Briatore thought that Fisichella wasn't trying hard enough. And this year he's got young Jenson Button against him in the team. Button down at the bottom of it, 15th position.
Curiously, Michael Schumacher, having been setting a lot of 1 minute 29, low 29s, slipped back into the late 1 minute 30s. He's now only the 4th fastest man on the track. That was last time around, so that doesn't include this lap, where he was having to pass Fisichella. Fisichella getting out of the way pretty quickly anyway. Let's see what it's like this time. There's all sorts of engine noises coming in, and
what's he waving about?
And does his engine sound a little bit rough? I keep wondering if I'm hearing. He's going wide, isn't he? Oh, he just hooked it up.
He was waving his hand above his helmet, almost into the air intake above his head to the engine.
Yeah,
I suspect you could be right, Martin.
Well, that was a 1:30.0 that lap, so I'm wondering if he's got a radio communication problem or something. Normally, that...
Well, Barrichello has got the gap down. He's lapped it. It's only a couple of tenths of a second faster than Michael Schumacher, but he's done it. We're on lap 30 now. 28 laps to go for the first Grand Prix of 2001 here at Melbourne, Australia. The weather conditions haven't... We were expecting the sun to come burning through. It has failed to do so. The track temperature remains the same. David Coulthard still on the tail of Rubens Barrichello, but with enough car distance between the two of them not to be able to make a challenge. As Barrichello flies round the outside of Fisichella, David Coulthard is held up momentarily, but gets through on the inside, waves his hand at Fisichella. Whether that was in acknowledgement or irritation, I don't know.
Irritation, he held him up quite badly, so he was hooking up nicely there with Barrichello, and Fisichella electing to park in the middle of that tricky chicane. But anyway, he had to be somewhere, he can't just evaporate, and Coulthard letting him know he wasn't impressed. But meanwhile, Barrichello, as you said, 9.4 seconds. Now Michael's back down in the low 29s again, so suddenly he's found his original pace back. James, what do you think?
Well, the lap where he backed off, it was because as he came across the start-finish line, Ross Brawn, the team's technical director, had come off onto the side of the pit wall to take a close look at the car, and Michael came near to him so that Ross could take a good look. And it seems that they're happy, and they've told Michael to get back on the gas again. It might have been something to do happy with the tyres or a piece of aerodynamic work, but anyway, Ross is happy, Michael's back on it.
And I can look down into the pit lane and see a despondent Mika Häkkinen walking in. We're on lap 31 now. Michael Schumacher 9.7 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Now there is Mika Häkkinen. Now who is doing particularly well in the places behind Michael Schumacher? Well, the answer is Nick Heidfeld. He's in 6th place in the Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber. Montoya is almost up into the points. He's in 7th position in his first Grand Prix for Williams. Kimi Raikkonen is in 6th position. So the Saubers are 6th and 8th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is closing on Kimi Räikkönen at the rate of about 0.4 of a second a lap. He's in 9th place and is 1.7 seconds behind the 5th. Luciano Berti in the Jaguar is in 10th position ahead of Jean Alesi. Eddie Irvine is 12th, and Fernando Alonso in the Minardi is still running, looking good for a race finish.
So new fastest lap then for Michael Schumacher, 29.0. Barrichello and Coulthard second and third, 29.3, 1 minute 29.4. Now the only reason you make signals like that to your team are either your radio has failed or you don't want to pass information over that radio because other teams, despite encryption, may be able to hear what's going on. But I know Ferrari have got a very, very good digital system. I'm surprised they're nervous about security, but nonetheless, Schumacher clearly some kind of pre-arranged signal there that maybe only Ross Brawn understands.
I was going to say, so what does flapping your hand about over the helmet mean?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, it doesn't seem to be affecting him. The gap is now up to over 10 seconds. But David Coulthard is on a charge. He's just done the first sector, fastest of all. No change in the first 6. And it's fairly well spread out now, all the way down the field. The closest battle that we've got at the present moment is that Jean Alesi in 11th place is just 0.8 of a second behind Luciano Berti's 10th placed Jaguar, and is not actually closing on it because their lap times are virtually identical. Look at the lines of the Ferrari, look at the lines of any of them, and you'll see differences this year because of the aerodynamic changes as Olivier Panis surges past Jarno Trulli and moves up into 4th place.
Too easy, he's got a problem.
Well, that won't worry Panis. He's got the Honda engine. There's terrific rivalry between the BAR and the Jordan teams. Yes, you're absolutely right, because there is Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber closing up on the Jordan to go through as Olivier Panis has done, and he's just done it. So Nick Heidfeld moves up from 6th to 5th. Panis moves up from 5th to 4th. I was saying that there is terrific rivalry between the BAR and the Jordan teams this year because they're both vying for the attention as now Montoya goes past. So the Jordan is now out of the points altogether, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the other one is in 9th position, lapping, well, he's lapping faster than anybody else apart from the first 3 people. So Frentzen is going to start closing up through the field. He's closing up on Kimi Räikkönen now as we ride with Juan Montoya from Colombia in the BMW Williams. Listen to that engine.
We're talking about over 18,000 RPM in qualifying, well over 17,000 in the race. Looks down a couple of gears, through 12, and the Montoya now just 1 place away from the World Championship points on his first ever Grand Prix, and a good solid drive from him. He's fighting the back end of that car on quite a lot of corners of the lap. 3:14 then. And this is a frustrating little corner. It always seems slower than it really needs to be, but you can't attack it until the exit. And that's Coulthard taking Barrichello. So Coulthard up into 2nd place. Just got to keep a tight line through 4, and that is a clear pass then, it would seem, from Coulthard to take that 2nd place. He was about a 10th or 2 quicker on the previous lap. Maybe Barrichello had a small mistake somewhere. Hopefully we'll be able to see that. But Coulthard then easing away in 2nd place.
Well, people have said in the past that David Coulthard is too nice to be aggressive. Yes, he is nice, but he's not too nice to be aggressive. He showed that in the French Grand Prix last year, which he... Now, here's a replay.
That's a good one. Round the outside. That's round the outside into 3, of course, and then giving him a squeeze. He does like to beat up on a Ferrari when he gets half a chance, doesn't he, David Coulthard? And that was a sweet pass.
And look at the gap he's pulled out already. I was saying he showed in the French Grand Prix last year when he won brilliantly by catching and passing Michael Schumacher. and being very, very aggressive indeed. And that was what David, I think, regards as the best race of his life. He was very, very happy with that one, and rightly so. And he can be very happy with that passing move now, and the fact that he's pulling away from Rubens Barrichello. But Michael Schumacher, if there was a message there, has got it. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 28.2, which is 2.3 seconds faster than the previous lap record held by Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 1997 in the Williams. So that's another indication of the fact that the new tyres are making an enormous difference to performance here, and will make an enormous difference everywhere else this year. Schumacher leading, Coulthard second, Barrichello third, Pettis fourth, Heidfeld fifth, Montoya now in the points, and Raikkonen is in seventh place, Frentzen 8th, Bertin 9th, Alesi 10th, and still 15 cars out of the original 22 are running. Fisichella is last. No, he's not, but Jensen Button is. So Benetton, with their team reorganisation, new tyres, a lot of new people there, the new Renault engine, have always said that they're working towards 2002 rather than 2001, and they're doing their car development in public, but it's pretty painful for them at the present moment. Retirements, Mika Hakkinen as a result of that massive off from which he walked away. We still don't know the reason, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. Ralf Schumacher's collision with Jacques Villeneuve, so there have been 3 big ones already. Tasso Marquez out in the Minardi, Enrique Benoldi out in the Arrows, Mazzacani out in the Prost. We're out because we're leaving you, but of course we will be coming back.
American Racingin kuljettaja on tekemässä erittäin hienoa jälkeä. Palasi takaisin siis Grand Prix-radoille oltuaan McLarenin testikuljettajan roolissa vielä viime vuonna. Tässä taas näette hyvin Michael Schumacherin ja David Coulthardin välisen eron 15,1 sekuntia. Ja nyt tietysti mielenkiinnolla katsomme näitä kierrosaikoja. Mikä on tilanne näiden kahden kuljettajan välillä? Saavuttaako Coulthard Schumia nyt sen jälkeen, kun hän pääsi tuosta Sumin tiimikaverista pari kellosta ohitse edellisellä kierroksella? 20 Coulthard nipistää tuosta Sumin erosta, mutta koska sitä on yli 15 sekuntia, niin tarvitsee aika monta 20 kierrosta ajaa ennen kuin ollaan tuossa vaihdelaatikossa kiinni. Ja nykyisin Formula 1:ssä, kun tuo ohittaminenkaan ei ihan tapahdu sormia napsauttamalla. 36 kierrosta tulee täyteen, eli melkoisen paljon ollaan jo menty. Muistetaan, että 58 kierroksen kilpailustahan on kysymys, joten näitä varikkopysähdyksiä odotetaan hetkellä millä hyvänsä. Siinä on Jyrki aika turvallinen tilanne nyt Michael Schumacherilla. 15 sekunnin kaula, nyt se on 15,6 sekuntia, eli Schumi korjasi heti tuota tilannetta, otti 50 noin pyöreästi ja puoli sekuntia eroa lisää. Se on varmasti nyt tiimiltä vähän helpompi taktikoida tuo Sumin pysähdys, kun ero toisena olevaan noinkin paljon.
Kyllähän se aika helppo on, että 15 sekunnin kaulalla, niin tuossa voi jo pikkuhiljaa vähän katsoa. Mä en tiedä, mitä se Schumacher oikein viestitte tuossa aikaisemmassa vaiheessa, että onko niillä jotain ongelmia tai mitä on sitten käymässä tuossa, että onko renkaat antamassa vähän periksi tai niin poispäin, mutta 15 sekkaa on kuitenkin aika paljon ja siinä pystyy jo vähän niin kuin varmistelemaan ja katsoo ja tutkii ja miettii, että mitä tehdään sitten niin loppukisaa varten. Pystyy vähän varikollekin puhua helpommin, että taktikoimaan ja käymään läpi kisan loppuvaiheita sitten.
Kimi Räikkönen ensimmäinen varikkopysähdys. Formula 1 uralla parasta aikaa käynnissä ja nyt se on ohi. Kuvaruudun ulkopuolelta tämä kerrottakoon. Kimi putoaa luonnollisesti tällä tuloslistalla, putoaa tuonne 9. paikalle ja taitaa pudota 10. kyllä. Fisikellakin ehtii siitä vielä. No Fisikella on jäänyt kierroksella, eli ei putoa sen kauemmaksi, eli Kimi Räikkönen tällä hetkellä 9.
Back in Melbourne, Michael Schumacher touring into the pit lane for his tyre stop. He was leading David Coulthard by 15.6 seconds. It's James.
Yeah, Schumacher comes in for his one and only stop here today. And I'm talking to the Ferrari mechanics. They've done all-nighters Friday and Saturday night. They're absolutely exhausted. They were expected to be asleep today, but it's been such a gripping race as Schumacher exits the pits after 10.7 seconds stationary time. Super pit stop by them. They obviously are not asleep today.
So David Coulthard now leads the Australian Grand Prix with Rubens Barrichello in second position, as Michael Schumacher goes out in third position, goes out of the pit lane, I mean, and gets up to speed on his new tyres, on which he will remain unless he has a problem for the remainder of this race. He's on lap 38, 20 laps to go.
Yes, Michael obviously didn't start this race chock-a-block full of fuel. He's come in, you know, the first man in really for the fuel, and that is Heidfeld in for his stop. He was down there in 6th place as he came in, so Heidfeld then a good clean stop for him too. 10 seconds exactly, slightly quicker than Ferrari, but of course, as we know, just 21 laps to go. Now for sure they can go to the end of the race.
Yeah, lots of them coming in now. Heidfeld in, Frentzen of course has been in, but there we look at the Sauber. And behind it, the Jaguar. So that is Nick Heidfeld in 6th position, Eddie Irvine in 7th position.
If Coulthard wants to win this race, he's somehow got to sprint this next however many laps of fuel he's got on board. I'd guess it must be another 6 or 7. We would have thought, depends how much they were using behind that safety car, and only the telemetry can tell you that, but Coulthard's got a window here where if he can sprint while the Ferrari has a bit more fuel in it, he may just close down what was a 15.4 second gap before Michael stopped. I mean, it's a bit of a tough challenge, that one. I don't see him taking 15 seconds out of Michael, but he should be able to close him down a little bit.
I would say that even David Coulthard, for whom I have consummate admiration and respect, would have a job to do that. And there's Rubens Barrichello trying to keep David Coulthard honest. Rubens Barrichello, who is in 2nd place, which is where he finished last year.
If Hakkinen went off with a rear wing failure, if he did, and I don't know, it was just my surmise, we caught only the end of his accident, but certainly the McLaren team would be very nervous if it was any kind of mechanical failure, actually, to be sure that it can't happen to David Coulthard's car. That's a tough decision, a tough call for a team. I'm not saying McLaren are necessarily exactly in that position, but if he went off with mechanical failure, which is very much possible, then clearly they have to be absolutely comfortable that can't happen to the other car.
Yeah, it reminds me of the situation in 1986 in Australia at Adelaide, when Nigel Mansell had that colossal tyre failure. More about that later, Louise.
Well, I'm here with Adrian Newey, so we'll see what we can find out from the man himself. Adrian, some suggestion that something happened to the car with Mika's accident. What can you tell us?
At the moment, we don't know what happened. It's certain that something happened. Spoken to Mika. We had some sort of either suspension or brake problem, which caused the accident. That's all that we can say at the moment. Mika's had there's some marks on his helmet, so he's very slightly concussed.
Is there a chance that this could happen to David as well, or is it impossible to say?
It's obviously a concern, and we're reviewing it at the moment, as I can say.
Thanks, Adrian.
Well, that's very significant. We're reviewing it at the moment. I was saying that I remember in '86 when Nigel Mansell had that colossal tyre failure that cost him the World Championship. Nelson Piquet, his teammate, lost the race because, quite rightly, the Williams people decided to bring Piquet in to check his tyres after Mansell had had that colossal blowout, which resulted in Alain Prost winning the race and the championship. So now both the Ferraris in. Michael Schumacher stopped. He was stationary for 10.7 seconds, plus, of course, the slowdown time coming into the pit lane and the speed-up time getting back onto the track. Rubens Barrichello was half a second quicker, 10.2 seconds.
Can't help but feeling, you know, that safety car period really played into the hands of Ferrari. It's almost certain then that McLaren had more fuel on board than Ferrari, so Ferrari may even well have been two stopping, so that's played beautifully into Ferrari's hands. They were able to just stretch out that first stop and turn it into a one-stopper, but right now Coulthard buried his fastest lap of the race, a 1:28.8.
Which is 0.6 of a second slower than the fastest lap of the race put up by Michael Schumacher, and gives you an idea of the comparative performance of the cars.
But still 1.1 seconds faster, Murray, than Michael's going at the moment. Remember, his car's a little bit fatter now that he's been in for some fuel.
Yeah, and the gap is 18 seconds with 18 laps to go. And David Coulthard, of course, has got to make his tyre stop as Olivier Panis comes in the BAR Honda from 5th position. He should get back out onto the track before Nick Heidfeld comes through, because the German Heidfeld in 6th place was 30 seconds behind Panis when the Frenchman came in. There is Heidfeld in the background as Panis rejoins. He has not lost his place. He's still in 5th position, and it's going to be a wonderful reward for the very, very popular and charming Frenchman Olivier Panis, 34 years old, one of the older drivers in this race, if he can score points on his return to Formula One. After having been McLaren's test driver and their 3rd driver, I emphasise that, because he would have taken the place of Hakkinen, as into the pit lane comes David Coulthard now. James.
Yeah, I've just think that Montoya's blown up as well, I've just been noticing, but David Coulthard comes in now. He's 18.1 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher. He needs 33 to get out ahead. He won't do that. Michael will be in the lead, but the significant thing is Barrichello. He was only 36 seconds ahead. McLaren have reacted here, 10.3. He should be just ahead of Rubens Barrichello when he comes out.
Schumacher has gone through and leads the Australian Grand Prix as David Coulthard rejoins the track ahead of David Coulthard. You are absolutely right, and Montoya is out of the race, so both the Williams BMWs have failed to finish here the first Grand Prix of the year. That is the reason, and if that isn't an engine blow-up, I am a Chinaman.
And look at his front left tyre, by the way, while it's blowing, absolutely bald as a coot. So those Michelin's down to virtually no grooves. We're expecting a bit of a fracas sometime through the season over these grooved slicks, and Montoya wandering away. So Schumacher leads then from Coulthard, Barrichello, Panis, Heidfeld in 5th, and then Frentzen, after Montoya's demise, will be coming through into the final point-scoring position at the moment.
I noticed that Montoya couldn't or wouldn't remove his car from the track. He's left it on the tarmac. That may argue that it's locked up, in which case it's going to be very difficult for the marshals to remove it. BMW actually took a policy decision this year after having produced a very conventional and cautious for a Formula One engine motor last year to go for performance with a vengeance this year, knowing that it could lead to failures which they could develop out of the system. Well, it has led to a failure. Both cars out, one of them with presumably an engine failure, the other with the collision. You're watching Michael Schumacher, world champion of 1994, world champion of 1995, a brilliant world champion of 2000, after pledging his future in 1996 to bring Ferrari back to the front, which he brilliantly now has done, leading the Australian Grand Prix on lap 43 out of 58, looking good for a second successive victory and his 5th in a row if he can just keep going. He's 10.5 seconds ahead of David Coulthard. He's closing up on Jenson Button, 15th position in the Benetton Renault, and Rubens Barrichello is now 10 seconds behind David Coulthard. So all the runners now have made either 1 or 2 stops. Most of them 1 for more fuel and tyres, some of them 2 for other reasons. Jenson Button has been in twice, Verstappen has been in twice, he's running in 11th place incidentally, and Fernando Alonso has now retired from the Australian Grand Prix, but he and the Minardi team did a brilliant job to get into it in the first place.
Sure, doesn't that out mean that he's just left the pits, Murray, rather than out of the race?
Yeah, I think on reflection, Martin, you're right. I'm sorry, I'm looking at a computer screen as I talk to you. I sincerely hope you are right. We'll know in just a few seconds. But anyway, there is Schumacher on his 44th lap. There is Coulthard on his 44th lap. David's had an extremely good career in Australia because he won in 97. He won morally, I have to say, in 98, although there was enormous controversy in Australia when he backed off at the very last moment as he approached the finishing line and let his teammate Mika Hakkinen through on team orders, because it was a judge that Mika Hakkinen had lost time, which perhaps he didn't deserve to, and he went through and passed David Coulthard. So David Coulthard's got a first in 97, a second in 98. It looks as though he's going to have a second this year as well. But of course 99 and 2000 were bad years for McLaren. David Coulthard went out both years with engine problems. The Mercedes-Benz Ilmore designed and produced engine, which is powering his McLaren, is a completely new motor, well, a very, very highly developed motor this year. And as you can see, there's a 9.6 second gap between Paolo Martinelli, the designer of the Ferrari engine, and Mario Ilian, the designer of the Mercedes-Benz engine.
Mature drive from Coulthard, out of position on the grid, just about kept his nose out of trouble on that first lap. I know he was planning to save fuel in the early stages of the race so that he could go a little bit longer than everybody else and maximise that window in the around the pit stop area that has, with that good move on Barrichello, elevated him, and now just 8.6 seconds off of the lead.
Lap 45, race order. Michael Schumacher leads Coulthard by 8.6 seconds. Coulthard's last lap was 1.5 seconds quicker than that of Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello still 10.5 seconds. There he is in third place behind Coulthard. Olivier Panis going well, 27 seconds behind the leader, 46 seconds behind the leader, 27 seconds behind Barrichello, fourth place. Nick Heidfeld looking good for 2 World Championship points in his first drive for Sauber. And Frentzen, who you remember ran third until he was nerfed off by Barrichello, dropped to 14th, is back up into 6th place in the points for Jordan. So I was talking about the Honda battle with BAR and Jordan. At the moment, Panis is 4th for BAR and Frentzen is 6th for Jordan. Kimi Räikkönen, the Finn in the second Sauber, a sensational, and I use the word advisedly, 7th place in his first Grand Prix.
And lapping very quickly. Here we are, 45 laps into the race. The kid, this is his 24th ever motor race, 13 of which he's won in Formula Renault back in the UK and other sort of lower formulae. And he's pulling in the 1:31s, up there in 7th place, and does not appear to be tiring mentally or physically. Stunning debut performance from him.
Yeah, he said he'd never driven in a race that was longer than half an hour, and now he's already been going for an hour, well, getting for a long, long time in this race, and it's going to be the longest race in his career. That is Olivier Panis, and he is in 4th position.
Scary thing about Räikkönen, he doesn't even look 21, does he? I think he'd get thrown out of a few pubs in the UK.
Olivier Panis. Well, it's great to see that Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR team has got some real competition, and he will be the first chap to welcome it. He had Ricardo Zonta in the team with him, who I think suffered from the psychological mind games that Villeneuve is apt to play. There's Juan Montoya walking in from his first Grand Prix.
Looks devastated. Good drive from him.
Yeah,
solid drive from Montoya.
Very, very, very much a man to watch. I'm extremely impressed with him. Charming personality and a very tough character too.
He hadn't yet stopped for tyres, but he did drop out of this Grand Prix in a strong 3rd place, so a good run from Montoya. But meanwhile, Coulthard now is calm now. He's any more of that lead out of Schumacher. Schumacher's pacing himself, I think, on Coulthard's pace at the moment. They're both dropping Barrichello and the rest of the field, but it's pegged at the late 8 seconds of a lead.
Jean Todt, who is the Ferrari team boss, said to me yesterday, we are really looking to score points tomorrow, Murray, because reliability is the name of the game. If we get some points on the card at the beginning of the season, as we did last year, it will put us in a strong position for the remainder of the season. Well, they're doing a brilliant job, because Michael Schumacher is on. There's Kimi Räikkönen incident in the Sauber in 7th place, and Schumacher is on a potential 10 points for Ferrari. Barrichello is on a potential 4, making 14. And David Coulthard is going to be the only point scorer for McLaren if he finishes 6 points. So there's going to be an 8-point difference between the teams.
It's Heidfeld actually in the Sauber, and the reason they're showing this is because Frentzen in 6th place is homing in on 5th place man Heidfeld at about 3/4 of a second per lap, so a little squabble shaping up there as we move into the final stages of this interesting, alarming in places, and surprising Grand Prix.
Yeah, Heinz-Harald Frentzen's driven a very, very sturdy, determined race, because he was well up in the points and looking good when he had that collision with Rubens Barrichello, who tried a pretty difficult move, which looked from my point of view as though it was never going to come off, and he's just knuckled down to making his way up through the field from 14th position, and he's certainly done it. I reckon he's going to get that 5th place with a bit of luck, although catching Heidfeld when the time difference between the two of them is not all that great is one thing, and as I've said many times in the past, getting past is quite another, because Heidfeld who is an experienced driver after all. He was the Formula 3000 champion, and he's been the McLaren test driver for a long time before driving for Prost last year. He got a lot of experience with Prost, very hard-won experience, but he's a good Grand Prix driver, and he knows that he can make his car wide without being illegal by just adjusting his line on the corners to make it very difficult for Frentzen to get past when he catches it.
Yes, it's a tough track to pass on despite the long straights and chicanes at the end. The corners are very fast at the end of most of these straights, but Frentzen, just looking at the computer while you were saying there, Murray, got about 3 km/h advantage through all the speed traps, so with a good old toe as well in the slipstream, he might just be able to edge up alongside Heidfeld, and that's once he catches him, of course, and that gap down now, still 3/4 second on the last lap.
Yeah, there's Schumacher, and Heidfeld has got last year's Ferrari engine in the Sauber. It's a customer deal. It cost him about £14 million a year, and it's obvious that this year's Honda engine is marginally better. Now, lap 49, Michael Schumacher leads David Coulthard, Rubens Barrichello is 3rd, and Olivier Panis is 4th. Nick Heidfeld is 5th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is in 6th position, followed by Kimi Räikkönen. Eddie Irvine is 8th, Luciano Berti in the other Jaguar is 9th, and Jean Alesi in the Prost is 10th position as we leave Melbourne for a break.
Ei enää sinä vuonna ollut käytössä, mutta käsittääkseni olet kuitenkin ajanut Formula 1 sekä sutimisen estolla ja ilman, muistatko oikein?
Kyllä, viimeinen vuosi oli vuonna 1993 silloin kun mä ajoin Sauberilla, että silloin oli sutimisen estot vielä täydissä voimissa ja tietenkin ne oli aikamoisia siihen aikaan, että meillä oli monia eri ohjelmia ja me pystyttiin ohjelmasta säätämään sitten sutimisen estoa hitaille mutkille ja nopeille mutkille eri lailla ja tietenkin niin kyllähän se on ihan erilaista ajamista, koska sä pystyt menemään mutkaa sisään, sä oot kääntänyt auton sisään sinne, niin sen jälkeen sä polkasit kaasun pohjaan ja sutimisen esto hoitaa sen sillä lailla, ettei se perä lähde irti ja sä saat sen maksimipidon koko mutkan läpi, että kyllähän se niinku, mun mielestä se vie ajamisesta pois ja siitä kuskin ajotaidosta aika paljon pois.
Tilanne kärjessä tiivistyy koko aika. Michael Schumacher johti siis jo yli 10 sekunnilla tuossa yhdessä vaiheessa. Nyt erot kutistuu koko ajan. Sitä tulee, tai ei tule, vaan siis kutistuu nimenomaan. Nyt se on 8,4 sekuntia. Olivier Panin ja Nick Heidfeldin ero 6,6 sekuntia, Frentzen 1,2 sekuntia Heidfeldissa. Täällähän on aika hyvät pistekäminät menossa vielä viimeisen 10 kierroksen aikana. Coulthard ottaa sekunnin per kierros Sumia kiinni. Nyt se on tasan 8 sekuntia tuo ero. Luuletko, Jyrki, että Sumi vaan varmistelee vai onko kysymys jostain mahdollisesti teknisestä ongelmasta? Mahdotonta sitä tietysti on arvailla, mutta heitä nyt joku arvio.
No se on vaikea sanoa, mutta tietenkin ne käsimerkit, mitä Sumi tuossa aikaisemmin näytti, niin ehkä sillä oli jotain tarkoitusta ja ehkä niillä on jonkinmoinen pieni ongelma. Et tietenkin Sumi varmaan tässä vaiheessa, eihän tuossa enää montaa kierrosta maaliin, niin vähän yrittää varmistella ja säästää autoakin ja ehkä antaa Coulthardin tulla ihan vaan lähemmäs, mutta sitten kuitenkin kontrolloi kisaa ja katsoo, että missä mennään koko ajan. Että ei sitä tarvitse täysin koko aikaa ajaa sokerissa.
Näin on. Muistamme Mika Häkkisen, kun hän varmisti maailmanmestaruutensa Japanissa, niin melkein pysähtyi siihen viimeiseen sikaniin ja ilmoitti jälkeenpäin vaan, että halusin nähdä peilistä takana tulevan Ferrarin. No joo, tuolla viimeisellä sektorilla nyt Coulthard ei enää Schumacheria sen kummemmin kiinni ota. 7,7 sekuntia näiden kahden herrasmiehen välinen ero, kun lähdetään jälleen kiertämään tätä rataa ympäri. Viimeisiä kierroksia mennään, 50 on täynnä ja 58 niitä ajetaan kokonaisuudessaan.
Into the closing stages of a very unusual Australian Grand Prix. There is the battle on the track, and it is between Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber for 5th position, and chasing him hard in the yellow Jordan for that extra point is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But Michael Schumacher is leading David Coulthard by 7.7 seconds, and Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari is 11.5 seconds behind Coulthard and 34 seconds ahead of Panis. This is the battle for 5th.
Yes, two Germans then fighting it out over 5th place. Heidfeld, we didn't see any of his skills last year in an appalling Prost that looked like it was struggling to handle in a straight line, let alone around the corners. But meanwhile, Coulthard is really taking some time out of Michael Schumacher. He's going to close in on him before the end of the race. Louise.
I'm standing here with Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan Pablo, a bit of a smoky end to your first Grand Prix. Would we be right in presuming that was an engine problem?
Yeah, it was, but I think the engine performed really well. You know, really strong engine. I thought we were going to get to it in the end. It was really consistent through all the run. Didn't get me any warnings or anything, so it's a bit disappointed on that perspective, but you know, it was a lot of fun. I made mistakes, I got them back, I passed people. It was quite exciting.
Obviously not the result that you were looking for, but on the whole, are you satisfied with the way that your first race has gone?
Yeah, very much.
Thanks.
And so he jolly well should be, because making a debut in a Grand Prix is no mean achievement. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen continues to press Heidfeld very hard indeed, but the German in front is resisting the German behind very well indeed. Heidfeld looking into his mirrors. He wants those 2 points for 5th position just as much as Heinz-Harald Frentzen does, and it's a wonderful comparison between a new driver and a comparatively experienced driver now, because Heinz Frentzen comparatively is in his 115th Grand Prix. He's driven for Sauber, he's driven for Williams, he's driven for Jordan, and he's very happy where he is now, and he'll be happier still if he can just get past the Sauber. Is he going to do it?
He's got a nice toe there, and they're into 3 already. They struggle to get around. Heidfeld covering the apex nicely, but Frentzen shaping up, I think, for a move on that Sauber. As I said, he's got about a 3k advantage, kph advantage through all the speed traps, plus the slipstream effect. And I think his best chance really is going to be to get Frentzen a bit out of shape there actually in turn 5, but his best chance is going to be keep calm, stay as close as he can and get a good slingshot out of turn 2, and he'll have him down into turn 3.
And I maligned Minardi, I maligned Paul Stoddart, I maligned Fernando Alonso. He has not retired, he is still running. He is in 12th position in his first Grand Prix. A miraculous situation, bearing in mind the fact that Minardi itself looked on the brink of extinction just a few weeks ago. They've done a sensational job to get the team here, to get Alonso and Marquez in the race. Marquez retired early, of course. Alonso still going strong.
Yes, and up front, this is where Frentzen's got to be calm now. There's no way of passing him. He's just got to make sure keeps his line, keeps as close as he can, and brake nice and late into turn 1, smooth through 2, and he'll have a half a chance. But look, Heidfeld, good speed down that particular straight, hasn't he? But meanwhile, up front, Michael Schumacher said, OK, it's enough, DC. You're hauling in my lead. And he reversed it on the last lap. Michael Schumacher increasing his lead by 4/10, and Frentzen nowhere near enough this time around.
Yeah, Frentzen is going to have to hope that Heidfeld is held up by the Jaguar in front of him. It's Eddie Irvine's. But Irvine's an experienced campaigner. He'll look in his mirrors and realise that there are 2 cars coming up to lap him. He won't need or shouldn't need the blue flags to tell him to move over. And it's just a question of where he chooses to do so, whether Heidfeld can get past him and Frentzen can't, or whether they can both make it. Meantime, Frentzen sees his chance, because the closer that Heidfeld gets to Irvine, the better opportunity that Frentzen has got to whiz round the outside of the Sauber, like Nigel Mansell did to Ayrton Senna in the Hungarian Grand Prix years ago. If it was as good a move as that, I would be delighted, and so would Heinz-Harald Frentzen. But now Heidfeld is alongside the Jaguar and goes through. Irvine lets Frentzen through as well, so there is no change in the situation. Meantime, up front, as we concentrate on this battle, the only one on the circuit at the present moment, I can reassure Ferrari fans that Michael Schumacher is on his 54th lap now with the comfortable 7.4 seconds lead over David Coulthard and a 25-second lead over his teammate Rubens Barrichello. Fourth is Olivier Panis, and this is the battle for fifth between Heidfeld and Frentzen, followed by Kimi Räikkönen in the second Sauber, seventh place if he finishes there in his first Grand Prix. It will be a magnificent achievement.
Yeah, Räikkönen is just 11 seconds behind Frentzen and his teammate Heidfeld, and the third fastest man on the racetrack last time around. So Räikkönen still got a lot of pace, not in the points at the moment.
The interesting thing is that Räikkönen was taken on by Peter Sauber, largely because he couldn't get anybody else of merit to drive for him on account of the fact that he hadn't got the budget. Several drivers turned him down, including Pedro de la Rosa, who went as Jaguar's test driver, and Peter Sauber said, I'm just going to take a chance on youth. And Jenson Button showed that youth could get the job done last year. Kimi Räikkönen is showing that youth can get the job done this year. This is making quite a difference to the way that drivers come up towards Formula One, not from Formula 3000, but from Formula 3 in the lesser categories.
Yeah, the average or the combined age of the Sauber drivers is just 44 years old. The rest of the key running teams, the combined age tends to be around 60 years old of the two drivers, BAR being the oldest at about 64 with those two ages added together, but a very young team. But that car, the Sauber, is obviously pretty handy too, because whilst the two young drivers are doing a great job, the car is clearly giving them some grip.
Sean Lacey, the oldest driver in the race, incidentally, 36. There is David Coulthard, 29 years old, from Twynham in Scotland, looking good for 6 World Championship points. He's on his 56th lap now. This and 2 more to go.
Yeah, he's going to be tantalisingly close at the end, is David Coulthard, but I don't think close enough. I think Michael can pace him when he needs to. It's down to just 5.6 seconds, and he's taking about 1.1 on some laps, 6-7 tenths on others, so he looks like he'll just be getting a decent view of the back end of that Ferrari as Michael Schumacher punches the air to take yet another win.
In which case it will have been another victory for the Ferrari quartet that I've talked about so much in the past. Michael Schumacher, the driver, Jean Trott, the team manager, Ross Brawn, the technical director, Rory Byrne, the designer, and to make it 5, and he's just as important as the other 4, Paolo Martinelli, the Ferrari engine boss. They do a fantastic job at Maranello. And so that is Rubens Barrichello well on his own. He's 23 seconds behind Coulthard. He's 31 seconds ahead of Panis, who's 4th.
Yeah, his pace has been very slow this last 10 laps, really. Barrichello, I don't think he's nursing some kind of problem, or can't imagine he's lost interest. He was running quite well earlier on, but he's fallen away quite a lot from the front 2.
Well, there is an enormous Italian contingent living in Melbourne, and this is going to be a very happy result as far as they are concerned, because they are just as Ferrari-oriented as the tifosi at Monza and Imola in Italy are. If it happens, and Michael Schumacher is on his penultimate lap, 57 out of 58. If it happens, this year it's going to be Ferrari first and Ferrari third. Last year it was Ferrari first and Ferrari second. Schumacher has got a reduced lead over David Coulthard, as Martin has just pointed out, but he's on his 57th lap with just 1 more after this one to go, with a 5.4 second advantage.
Well, to complete a miserable weekend for Jenson Button, unfortunately he's just stopped, so Button out of the race. Just 13 runners then at the moment, including Fisichella, who's been cruising around with a sick engine now for best part of half the race. So Fisichella down there in 13. So Michael Schumacher then at the start of this race, a flying start, went off. Barrichello a poor start, letting Häkkinen through. a bit of squabbling into the first corner, and then it settled down until there was an enormous accident when Villeneuve misjudged the back end of Ralf Schumacher's Williams and slammed into the barrier. Both drivers okay, possibly somebody on the side of the racetrack hurt, unfortunately, and we had 11 or so laps under the pace car. Got underway again, and immediately then Barrichello tripping over Frentzen, putting him down the field, and Coulthard and Barrichello then coming through third and fourth place. And we've seen a lot of blow-ups, a lot of unreliability, unfortunately, including Jarno Trulli in the Jordan, one of the cars I really expected to be fully reliable here. And Montoya then was the next key runner, who was up in a strong third place, dropping out with engine failure, and that brings us pretty much up to where we are at this stage of the race.
The final lap of the race, with Michael Schumacher almost home for his 45th career Grand Prix victory, to bring him within 6 victories of the great 3 times world champion, 4 times world champion Alain Prost, and Michael Schumacher could beat that record this season. He's stroking the car home to victory now. He's going to make it 5 wins in a row, because he won in Italy at Monza last year, then he won at Indianapolis, then he won at Suzuka in Japan, then he won at Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, which incidentally is our next race. Alan Jones, Australia's world champion of 1980, waiting to flag Michael Schumacher home as the victor of the 2001 Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne. And Michael Schumacher gives it the welly out of the last corner and wins the Australian Grand Prix, to the delight of the Ferrari mechanics, who provided him with a wonderful motor car which had to be rebuilt. And David Coulthard there finishes 1.7 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. Partly because David was giving it his all on that last lap, and partly, I suspect, because Michael Schumacher, magnificent race tactician that he is, was just not taking any chances.
Yeah, Coulthard will be pleased to have 6 points in his pocket over teammate Häkkinen. There's a perennial fight between those two, and getting established early is quite important to Coulthard, but really McLaren couldn't match the pace of Ferrari this weekend. But reliability, 3 of the top 4 finished the race, contrary to just about everybody's expectation in the paddock, and really just Häkkinen dropping out with that suspected suspension failure, it would seem, to one of the only top 4 not to finish this race. Panis then, a strong return to Grand Prix racing for him. He is over the line in 4th place, and Heidfeld was a ½ a second ahead of Frentzen last time around. Who is going to take those 2 points? Heidfeld does. Frentzen 6th. And some 11.5 seconds down the road will be Kimi Räikkönen, finishing his first Grand Prix in 7th. Bertie 8th then in the first of the Jaguars. Eddie Irvine had a late pit stop, and so Bertie then up to 8th, Verstappen 9th, John Alesi 10th, then Irvine 11th, Alonso and Fisichella cruising around at the back.
Yeah, lots of meritorious drives there, particularly Panis back to Grand Prix racing in 4th place. Heidfeld, first drive for Sauber, in 5th place. Kimi Räikkönen, a magnificent Grand Prix debut, in 7th position. Luciano Berti's got nothing to be ashamed about. He finished in 8th position. And also Fernando Alonso in the Minardi, the man from Spain driving for the Australian-Italian team, Paul Stoddart's Minardi team, has given the Australian his life's ambition, because they not only bought the team, he got it into the race, and they've finished it. Wonderful. 12th position. Well, Michael Schumacher starts off 2001 as he means to continue. 4 points ahead of David Coulthard in the World Championship. And in 3rd position, of course, Rubens Barrichello, another 2 points further back. So let's look at the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari, a very handy 8 World Championship points ahead of McLaren after the first race, with BAR in 3rd position. That's the highest they've ever been, and they deserve to be there after all the work they've done with the Honda and everybody else over the winter. They're in third position, 11 points behind Ferrari. Sauber, a great job with their drivers in 5th and 7th positions, one of them in the points and one of them only just out of the points. 4th in the Constructors' Championship. And Jordan, the other Honda Works engine team, 1 point from Heinz-Harald Frenzen's 6th position. It's been it's been an interesting, and it has been an Australian Grand Prix full of happenings. Remember, that coming together. James Allen, what's the news?
I'm down here with Ross Brawn. Ross, 12 months ago, you and I stood in exactly the same position. Michael Schumacher went past us again. The only difference this time is it isn't a 1-2, but you still must be very happy with today.
Yes, I mean, I've commented before, we haven't done as much running over the winter as I would have liked. And we were pretty anxious to get through to the end. So, yeah, it's a very good result, but pretty tense.
Clear up a little mystery for us. Michael lost us about a second or two a lap. You came off the pit wall to just check something on the car. What was that?
Well, we didn't have good radio communication today, and I just asked him to give us an indication that he could hear me, because we couldn't hear him properly. But he just tapped his helmet to say he was getting clear radio communication. And then it came back towards the end of the race, so I'm not sure what was going on.
You were right, Martin. Thanks a lot, Ross.
I thought he was patting himself on the head. He knew he was going to win the race, Murray, actually, but that was only halfway through. But Schumi, as ever, looking cool, calm and collected, sorting out his bits and pieces and earplugs, gloves, balaclava, laying them inside the car. They're of great value, many of those items, and they tend to disappear, so you have to be very careful.
He's well pumped up, and what he may be, and typically the first thing he does is to go over and thank his mechanics, his race engineers, everybody that has helped put together the magnificent motor car that Rory Byrne designed and that Paolo Martinelli provided the engine for, that Ross Brawn supervised. Ferrari are very, very strong now. Luca Di Montezemolo, the boss of Ferrari, said that he was looking forward to a Ferrari revival. They've won the Constructors' Championship 2 years in a row, and they won the Drivers' Championship this year. Looking very strong.
Can't see a team that's going to pull Michael Schumacher out of that kind of relationship that he's got there. I can see him hanging around in that team until he's ready to stop flying around the world and travelling too fast. So Schumacher and his team around him and a lot of key men, and they declared their sort of undying love for each other over the winter in many magazine articles. But it's a genuine rapport, isn't it? There's a great feeling there. You can just see it. You're right with them on the teamwork that's going on.
Stefano Domenicali, his race engineer, in the background. David Coulthard gets a pat on the back. 6 points for him in the Drivers' World Championship, none for Mika Hakkinen. The first man you have to beat in a Grand Prix is your own teammate. Rubens Barrichello looking a tiny bit downcast. Remember, he was running second until that terrific passing manoeuvre from David Coulthard, and he never recovered from it. I don't know whether that argues that he had some sort of a problem that Michael Schumacher did not have. And that graphic shows you how the tyre war has gone, very much in Bridgestone's favour. The red B stands for Bridgestone, the blue M stands for Michelin, but it's Michelin's first year back in Formula One after having dominated it some years ago and after having dominated every other category of motorsport, especially motorcycle racing, for many years. They'll be there. Bridgestone will be pleased, but they will also be very cautious. They know that they've got a very strong rival to match up against and to beat. And Australia, as you can see, is flooding the racetrack.
Yes, of course, Bridgestone's advantage is they have the best 4 cars on the grid, but that's a tough one for Michelin. Traditionally, they've been very, very strong, Michelin. But they'll, I would imagine, be a bit disappointed with today, despite getting car home 8th. They haven't really had a stunning pace, although the Williams didn't look too bad, did they, in the middle section. Ralph, really, we didn't, after he was taken out by Villeneuve's flying BAR, we didn't really get a chance to judge the durability, really, of Michelin's on the Williams, but Montoya doing a good job with them.
Man of the race, Kimi Räikkönen?
He's certainly one of the men of the race. I think you've got to give it to Michael today, really. Pole position, brilliant start, controlled the race when it mattered, didn't make any mistakes, so you've got to give it to Michael. But yeah, rookie of the day by some country mile, Kimi Räikkönen.
Very, very much a man to watch. Look at that. There were 200,000 people from Australia here the first 2 or 3 days. Heaven knows how many there are here. I know they've had a record attendance. They're expecting a record attendance today, record income. Formula One has never looked better than it is now in terms of colour, in terms of competition, in terms of all the elements. Very, very much a world sport. Starting off in Australia at Melbourne. I'll say it again, a great place for a race. Now we go on to another 16 races. The next one is at Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil, in 2 weeks' time.
I'm going to Malaysia first, Murray.
Yeah, so am I. I'm sorry. I know exactly how I did that, but thanks for reminding me.
May see you there by the sounds of it.
But never mind, the last one of the year is definitely going to be at Japan, and Australia will be watching that just as they've been watching this. Heaven knows how many of them there are, and the amazing thing about this place is that they will all melt away. Most of them come on public transport, super efficient tram system, and they're going to go home very happy indeed, most of them. I dined in Melbourne last night in an Italian restaurant. Most of the people there were wearing Ferrari hats, and look at the sea of red there is there. The shirts, the hats, the flags, and most of them are rooting for Maranello. So what do we get out of this race? The fact that Ferrari have set a benchmark for McLaren and for everybody else, which looks at, and out onto the podium I was just taking my time from the cheers of the crowd there, and I'm looking across at the podium at the present moment, waiting for Schumacher, Coulthard and Barrichello to come out. Seems to me to be taking an inordinately long time. I can see down there Steve Brax on the left, who is the Premier of Victoria, who's going to be giving Schumacher his trophy. The man, a very tall man in the light coat, is Ron Walker, no relation, and he is Mr. Melbourne, and he's going to be giving the trophy to the second place man, David Coulthard. I'm just thinking now of way back to the race when we were expecting Ayrton Senna to come out onto the podium first, and instead it was Alessandro Nannini. This is taking an awful long time.
Just wondering if somebody in that Villeneuve incident is in a poorly way. Wondering if they, I don't know, it takes so long for them, so little time for them normally to get up onto that podium procedure. It's pretty slick, and I wonder if they're going to possibly avoid any celebrations. We don't know what happened down at the. We know somebody was injured. The ambulance was there for 20-odd minutes. Not one of the drivers, somebody alongside the racetrack. No more information than that up in this commentary box anyway. And clearly there is something. Either somebody's locked the door behind there somewhere and they can't find the key.
There's Ron Walker coming out.
Now here come the drivers.
Here they are. Here's David Coulthard out first. Michael Schumacher. Hands aloft. Rubens Barrichello. The crowd is euphoric. And there is the man, happy and relaxed as ever, Michael Schumacher. unusually solemn Michael Schumacher, and it's the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. The gold of Australia and the kangaroo.
The trophy will be presented by James Strong, the Chief Executive
One of those
of
now,
Qantas
haven't you, Mary?
Airways Limited.
James Strong gives the trophy to Jean Todt, the team
To the
manager.
second-place driver,
James Strong,
David
the Chief
Coulthard,
Executive of
the trophy
Qantas, and here
presented
is
by
Ron
Roger
Walker.
Walker,
He's done so
the
much to bring the
chairman of
Grand
the
Prix
Australian
to
Grand Prix
Melbourne,
Corporation.
giving David Coulthard
And to the
his son.
third-place driver, Rubens Barrichello, the trophy presented by John Osborne, the President of CAMS.
A great race for Australia, a great race for Michael Schumacher and for Rubens Barrichello, and of course for David Coulthard. And now from Melbourne, Australia, we prepare to go to Malaysia in 2 weeks' time for the resumption of the 2001 Grand Prix Formula One season.
Thanks very much indeed to Murray and to Martin Brundle as well. A very sombre ceremony up there. No champagne. We have no definite news about the condition of the track marshal. We will give it to you as soon as we get it, of course. But a very sombre end to the first race of 2001. Rejoin us in Melbourne very shortly.
Sitten herrat, hyvää sunnuntai-aamun ja päivän jatkoa. Melbourne vaikenee.
Finished in second place today, winning performance of his results here in Australia in 1998. He has been a former winner here, of course. He did that in 1997. Once again, Rubens Barrichello got on the podium as he did last season, finishing third. Olivier Kahn is a great result, finishing
Grand Prix. It's the winner, Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello. I wonder, Michael, perhaps you just give us a simple story of your race, please.
Obviously, I had a great start. We worked hard over winter about that, and as you see, it worked out well, very well. I was quite pleased about this. Then I just tried to split my race into a kind of rhythm to be fast when I had to be fast and not overdrive the car when it was unnecessary. Obviously, we then had the safety car situation, and unfortunately, we just been told that the marshal did die, and obviously we're all shocked about this, and we have to look at what is possible from our side, what kind of support we can give, but certainly everybody is very much down for this situation.
Michael, thank you. And David, a quick word from you.
Well, obviously the overriding story of the race is, as Michael's just mentioned, the fatality of the marshal, and I think on behalf of all the drivers, our thoughts go to him and to his family. And we need to obviously study how we can improve track safety to these people who give their time for us to enable us to go racing. That to one side, I had a fairly straightforward race to pick up 6 points, but you know that seems pretty insignificant when there's a loss of life involved.
Thank you, David. And finally, Rubens.
Well, I mean, it's always, you know, to score some points to begin with is quite good, but you know, that we're definitely not happy just because what Michael and David said. It's very bad when a colleague that is there for you, you know, happens to be in an incident like that. So my thoughts are all with him and with his family, and I think there's no way that we can make up for this race.
Thank you, gentlemen. Perhaps just a word in your own languages from Michael and Rubens. Thank you, Michael.
Tja, waar gaat het nog om als er iemand om het leven komt bij een Grand Prix in de Formule 1? Want dat is dan toch het geval. Ze hebben het net gehoord, vertelde Michael Schumacher. De marshal is inderdaad overleden. En dan doen die punten er allemaal niet meer zoveel toe. Dat zei David Coulthard. In woorden van dezelfde strekking zei Rubens Barrichello. Tja, Tom, dan zitten we hier toch een beetje met gemeende gevoelens.
Ja, ik had deze situatie toch niet zo ingeschat zoals het was. We zagen het al dat er niet met champagne werd gespoten. We kennen uit ervaring, weten we natuurlijk dat dan een slecht teken is. Dat ze het ook zo heel duidelijk naar buiten brengen. Alle drie de coureurs ja, is toch een teken van medeleven. En natuurlijk ook van de teams. Er zal zeker wat aan gedaan worden. Er wordt al heel hard aan gewerkt voor vorig jaar. Maar het zal nu zeker het gespreksitem zijn binnen de Formule 1. Maar ja, daar niettemin, jongens. We blijven autoracen en we moeten gewoon aan de veiligheid werken. We zien nu dat de veiligheid van de coureurs heel goed in orde is. En we zouden nu de veiligheid van de mensen die de coureurs helpen wat aan moeten doen. Ik weet niet, ik heb er toch geen lekker...
And you're back with us at Albert Park, Melbourne, around about 130,000 people leaving very quietly indeed after an accident involving a track marshal. As soon as we know the extent of the injuries, we will let you know, of course, but no champagne after Michael Schumacher's victory here. Overall impressions, first of all, you, Mark.
Overall, I thought it was quite a good Grand Prix. I mean, there was lots of action, a few overtaking manoeuvres. Reliability, big issue. Not many people finished, which is a problem, but the key players in the game, Ferrari and McLaren, got their cars to the end.
Let's go to the press conference.
Australian Grand Prix, it's the winner, Michael Schumacher, from Michael and Rubens. Thank you, Michael.
There we are then, Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello, really reflecting very sombre mood here at Albert Park, Melbourne, where a track marshal has been killed in the first Grand Prix of 2001. We'll be right back. You're back with us at Melbourne, where Michael Schumacher has won the first Grand Prix of the season, but tragically a track marshal has lost his life. Craig Pollock, top man at BAR, is joining us now. Craig, Jacques Villeneuve, of course, your man was very much involved in that incident, and I would think there's a deep sense of shock down there.
At the end of the race that we're going to be celebrating something, and it's never nice when somebody dies. I would just like to send sincere condolences to the family. There's not much we can say because we don't know the full circumstances round about the accident, exactly how it happened, why it happened, but it's just a very, very sad thing when somebody dies.
But just like Paolo Ghizlimberti at Monza, it seems to be in a tyre that has caused the marshal's death. That shouldn't happen, really.
Well, unfortunately, it is a dangerous sport. The tyre did come off the car. Obviously, the car was fully legal. It is very sad.
Any lessons? I know it's very, very early indeed, but any conclusions that you can draw at this stage?
I think it's impossible to draw conclusions if you don't have the full facts. But I think at the moment, certainly what our team are doing, we've reunited everybody. They've been fully informed that this has happened. And they'll be thinking about this poor person who's not there anymore, so I'm thinking about the family.
We appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much indeed, Craig. Let's just have a look at the accident itself, Tony. And when it happened, we saw it was obviously a high-impact crash.
Massive impact. They're doing about 170 odd miles an hour down there in 7th gear. We heard Villeneuve talking about seeing Ralph there in the middle of the track, and Villeneuve having to decide which way to go. He chose the option in a fraction of a second, clipped the back of the Williams BMW, and how the car didn't go over as well, I have no idea. But the point that we need to talk about now is the double wheel tethers which have been put in place. If, in fact, it was a wheel that hit the marshal, there's double wheel tethers in place this year, and it's meant to be designed to stop them coming off.
Mark?
I think two schools of thought on that. I mean, years ago there was no tethers, and at some point the wheel would come off, and it would come off very quickly. Now there's some possibility that the tether's in place and maybe it restricts the wheel on the car for maybe too long, and then when it does come off, it comes off at extra velocity. But let's be clear, we don't know whether the wheel was involved.
Jim, all I'd say on that is that it's 9mm of these two sort of ropes, if you like, which steel hawser type ropes which go all the way through the wishbones, then are anchored deep down in the chassis. If they're pulled on together, it's a resistance of something like about 9 tons, which it should be able to resist, and the second one that should be in place. But as some of the mechanics pointed out to me, when the suspension gets sheared, it can also shear through the cords as well, and that could have happened. We can only speculate at this point.
Is the sheer speed that we've seen here this weekend in any way to blame?
No, I mean, that's just racing. I mean, you know, technology, progression, there's a reduction in downforce, there's less drag, cars cleaner through the air, there's more grip from tyres, there's more speed, but that's an accident which could have happened whether you were doing 100 miles an hour and maybe not 150, but the consequences are grave, and you know, it's certainly a tough thing.
Let's reflect the race itself, and before we leave, everybody, what about when the safety car came out for, what was it, 25 minutes, wasn't it, Mark? How big an effect did that have?
It's a big effect on the race completely. Everybody tactically has to put their heads in gear and see what they can do with fuel, tyre wear, but the boys at Ferrari did it the best. They came off well, but it's something I can reflect on very easily.
And Michael Schumacher, although is very sad up there, understandably so, I mean, his season is off and running.
Yeah, and as we were saying at the beginning of the programme, if it's a big role for Ferrari, as McLaren may fear, this is the sort of start that Ferrari would want. And it's all based around the continuity. And there's one guy that was mentioned briefly, who's Paolo Martinelli, who's done such incredible work on the Ferrari engine. And that whole car has evolved over the winter. Incredible amount of work. They were almost the last here, Ferrari, which raised speculation as to the fact that they might not have passed their crash impact tests, but apparently they had no problem at all. So they were still unsure that the car would go the full distance. 41 laps into their last test at Mugello, the gearbox went, so that didn't give them good thoughts before they arrived.
The problem that you've got now is that McLaren will be going home scratching their heads. Mika Häkkinen came off the racetrack very fast, and we don't know why yet, and that's going to rest on their minds all the way back for Malaysia.
And he went hard into the tyres as well, Häkkinen down there, and he was. We heard Adrian Newey talking before. He was a little bit maybe concussed, so that's food for thought for him.
Right, Tony, Mark, thank you very much indeed. Let me just remind you there is another chance to see the race at 1:30 this lunchtime. Highlights just before midnight, and a repeat of the highlight show as always on ITV2 at 7 o'clock. Well, Michael Schumacher has thrown down the red gauntlet here, but all our thoughts are with the track marshal who has given his life at the first Grand Prix of 2001. Good night, you all.
One more here.
Ladies and gentlemen, on a day where 128,500 people attended this track and 380,000 people over 4 days, it's with great regret that we announce the death of one of our brother track officials in tragic circumstances. It's very unfortunate when you consider the amount of people that come here and the great precautions that are taken, particularly by the FIA and CAMS, that such a tragic thing should happen on a day like this. However, I can assure you that everything was done to make sure that the track was safe. The track was inspected twice today by the FIA, and my colleague from CAMS will answer any questions along with myself if you happen to have any. The family have been notified of the accident, and everything will be done within our power, as the public would expect, to take care of the family during such tragic circumstances. Peter?
Thank you. On behalf of CAMS and the entire motorsports community in Australia, it's with deep regret that we announce that one of our officials has died at the Grand Prix circuit today, and our sympathy is extended to the family. Thank you.
Do we have a name? So can you give us a name for that gentleman?
We can't release the name just yet.
Can you give us an approximate age or an age?
Approximately 50 years of age.
Was he Australian?
Yes, he was Australian.
Did he die at the track or at hospital?
At hospital, that's the information we have at the moment.
Can you give us an idea of the injuries that he suffered?
Speaking to the microphone.
We are not aware of exactly what the injuries were.
Do you know what he was hit with? What part of the car?
No, we don't know what he was hit with.
How old and where from?
He was Australian, and he was approximately 50 years of age.
How many other people were he?
He was a track marshal.
Was he on the inside or the outside of the fence?
I don't know where he was.
Why did the ambulance appear to slow and give way to the Grand Prix race rather than rush him to hospital if he was still alive?
I can't comment on that. I don't have all the details.
We understand he died at the track.
I can't comment on that. That's not the information we have.
So what happens now? What sort of inquiries and what sort of changes can we expect?
For a start, there will be a coronial inquiry, which is required under Victorian law, and we will assist the coroner with that inquiry.
Who's liable in this case? Is there a legal obligation on the part of the Grand Prix Corporation? Or if someone is killed, what's the situation?
I can't comment on that, but there obviously is, for an event like this, a public liability insurance.
The marshal apart, how many people have been involved in the incident or injured?
Approximately, let me just see here. 7 other people were treated at the hospital for minor injuries.
Spectators or other marshals?
Spectators, as we understand it.
Were the dead man's family at the circuit?
I beg your pardon?
Were the dead man's family at the circuit?
I don't think so.
Mr. Walker, will this
yes, the daughter was
a
here.
review of fence height or other safety provisions?
No. No, I don't think so. I happen to be a member of the FIA Commission, and this is reviewed regularly, and all steps have been taken to comply exactly with what the FIA laid out. Mr. Charlie Whiting has, as I said to you before, inspected the track on 2 occasions today. The track is inspected every day, and we do comply. We have a certificate to run the race, and we do comply with all the rules and regulations.
Did a wheel just go through a gap in the fence, Mr. Walker?
Well, I'm not suggesting what happened at the moment. The FIA haven't brought down its findings, and I think we should reserve our judgment until that finding is brought down. But all I can say to you is that the family will be looked after, regardless of the insurance, in the way the public would expect us to look after.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Walker? How will they be looked after?
Well, I think we'll just leave that for what I just said.
Why didn't you stop the race?
Well, it's not up to me to stop the race. It's up to the officials to look after that, which is Cam's run the race.
Well, why didn't Cam stop the race?
We have no further comments to make at this point in time. Thank you.
Ron, couldn't you take the lead and investigate and perhaps next year provide more protection for the volunteer track masters?
Well, I think that everything has been done worldwide under the FIA laws to protect everybody, and we comply exactly to the letter. That's why we receive a certificate every year to run the race. So
it's the second dead marshal in 6 months.
Yeah, you comply, it doesn't mean it can't be made better.
Well, you know, I think we'll just leave it at that, because you know, if you want to build a concrete wall right around the track, you won't have any spectators. Let's leave it at that.
Craig Pollock, we've just seen a huge accident involving Jacques Villeneuve, but miraculously he got out of the car.
Well, exactly, it was miraculous. If you take a look at the accident, it wasn't funny. We don't want that to happen to anybody, but obviously where I'm concerned with Jacques, it means an awful lot. It looked like something happened with Ralph Sanchin, couldn't be avoided. We'll see, we'll know from Williams, but let's just hope he's okay.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Tasso Marquez, the end of a difficult weekend for you. I think you did 3 laps. What happened then?
I had a problem with the battery. Since the first lap, the car started to have some misfire on the engine, and after the second lap and third lap, it get worse, and the car stopped in the middle of the track.
Now, there seemed to be quite a messy start all down the order of the grid. How did you see the first couple of laps?
We still have the same problem during all weekend with brakes. You know, we are locking the rear wheels and doesn't have enough brake in the front. So that's a shame because we couldn't go slow during all weekend. Couldn't go fast during all weekend. And for the race, I did a good start. I passed, I think, 2 or 3 cars. But the engine started to cut and I lost power. Then everybody passed back and they stopped.
Bad luck in Malaysia. See you there.
Ron Dennis, we've just seen Mika Häkkinen go off in quite a big way. What did you see of the accident?
Well, we don't. He wasn't complaining of any problem. Obviously, on the TV, he appeared sideways. We wanted to speculate whether he made a mistake or something happened on the car at this stage. The important thing is that he's unhurt, and there's 16 more races to go.
He hasn't said anything to you on the pit radio before he got out?
No, he jumped straight out of the car.
Thanks, Ron. Juan Pablo Montoya, you were going very well then, and then a lot of smoke and the engine.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed because it was a very good race, to be honest. It was a bit too great in the start and went straight through. But, you know, it's quite, you know, everything is experience, and I'm pretty happy with the result.
But on the first lap, you got pushed wide, and then you fought your way back up the order. You were going to be the last person to come into the pits. It was looking good.
I was looking actually really good. I made I got a great start of the line, and then I made a mistake in the first corner. I locked the front tires. And I don't know, you know, I had like 4 cars in the start, so I was a bit too greedy, but those things happen. I'm pretty happy with the result anyway.
Next time, thank you.
Guys, steady, steady. Just, hey, hey,
Don't push, please.
No pushing.
Please.
No pushing.
We've been waiting. Okay. Here we are at the Qatar.
Just take it steady. Take it steady, guys.
McLaren's team, and Mika Häkkinen is here. Just, Mika, how are you feeling?
Well, after the shunt like that, obviously I cannot say. I don't feel very fantastic at the moment. Obviously the spin at that speed is always something which leaves you lose cars inside.
Nice, easy.
Again, hitting a wall in that speed, you know, it was very unpleasant. Obviously, we just have to now understand what caused the problem. We don't know yet, obviously, but we have to understand it because problems like that, when you're going that speed, you know, it can be very painful sometimes.
And what did the medical officers say to you?
It was just a very general checkout, you know. Bang your head quite hard in the tires, so we have to just make a general checkout for the body, that way everything's fine.
And early reports are it was either suspension or brakes. Do we know yet? It's hard to tell?
Yes, it's hard to tell. We don't know yet, but the car will be back soon. And then the boys will study what went wrong, and then we'll know more, you know.
Was immediately the problem?
What?
Was suddenly happened? Suddenly any warning before?
It didn't give me any sign at all for the problem, you know. It's just, you know, I realized that my lap time started dropping a little bit. I was able to not to push the good times anymore. And then a couple laps later, you know, went in third last corner and went on the brakes, and it just suddenly, you know, lost the control of the car and the braking. It happens so quick, you know. It happens in 300 kilometers per hour, and it happens so fast, so quick. The driver, it's impossible to do anything. The driver is more or less passenger in that situation, so I was quite fortunate to come out of that without any injury. Unfortunate to have even that kind of situation, you know.
Did you speak to your family in that moment?
Yeah, I called to my wife Eri already. Tell her everything is fine, and it was important.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Okay? Okay. Ralf, zunächst, wie geht's Ihnen körperlich?
Ja, mir geht's glücklicherweise gut, dem Jack auch, aber viel schlimmer ist, dass ich wieder einen Marshall erwischt habe mit einem Reifen, glaube ich. Können wir mal, could you step a bit back, otherwise we have to stop. Sorry, okay? Everyone is gonna get his answer. Hast du aufgehört?
You will.
Ja. Ja gut, leider Gottes das.
Ron, now we are a step further, the first race, so what do you think?
A little frustrating. I think our racing strategy would have won us the race. Vicker could have kept in touch, but of course we have to make no excuses. We had a car failure of some sort, certainly not a driving error. We're not being wrong to speculate, but it's our problem, not his. David did a superb race, overtook all the cars, and we supplemented to come up to second, and we supplemented that with a good pit stop strategy that really stopped Barrichello being a threat. Michael was probably backing off a little bit, so we have a little bit of work to do, but we can, I think we'll be strong in the racing.
If the competition is so close like Formula One, how long does it take to catch up?
Surprised actually that the rest of the field seemed to be less competitive in the race than in qualifying. We seem to have most of Ferrari and ourselves seem to have about a second on most of the grid, so that should make it a more interesting season. We have to concentrate on Ferrari, and they did a good job. They deserve to win, but until the next races, we know what we have to do.
Thank you. Juan, what stopped your first successful race?
I had a problem with the engine. A bit disappointed with that, but I think BMW and Williams did a fantastic job. I think Mitchell and Tire were holding really well, especially at the end of the run. I did my fastest lap the lap before, and it was looking actually quite good.
So how much racing fun was it compared to America?
It's a lot of fun, I gotta admit. I thought overtaking was gonna be impossible, but you gotta really plan it, because if you try to overdrive all the time, you kill the tires, and something that I was just learning through the race. But you can get to pass people, and it's quite exciting actually.
So what do you think? How competitive will you be now over the season?
I think we can look quite good. I think through the season the car will be getting stronger and stronger, so I'm quite confident.
Thank you.
So the Australian Grand Prix has been marred by the death of a trackside marshal, but we are now going to look at the race itself and the start. Tony Jardine, Schumacher away and gone, but problems for David Coulthard.
Yeah, it was the most frenetic start. I mean, it's a classic beginning of the season, race number one. Just look at this. Schumacher makes a great start. Coulthard trying to get through the middle there. Look, he's got Frentzen actually banging wheels with him while Truly tries to go down the inside. Look at this lot all here. Montoya's going onto the grass. They're all jostling for position. They're all over the place, as I say. But Hakkinen got through into second place. Frentzen through into third place. Hakkinen did very well from second on the grid. Look at it again. And look at Coulthard in the middle. He took a right bash on the wheels there from Heinz-Harald Frentzen and still managed to keep it going. And there's the rookie Montoya in his first Grand Prix. Been itching for that start, but he lost it all at the beginning on the grass.
We've seen pile-ups at that first corner before here in Australia. How close were we to another one there?
It could have been very close to that. I mean, banging wheels at that kind of speed could have created a lot of problems, but Frentzen got away with it, Coulthard got away with it, and off we went.
Well, Frentzen might have got away with it there, but then Rubens Barrichello did a real number on him, didn't he?
Yeah, Ruby just put his nose in there a little bit too late, and consequently just tapped Frentzen round. But that's racing, and I'm sure they have a word about it ready for Malaysia, but I don't think there'll be any hard feelings.
Really, that's racing? It doesn't go any further than that?
Well, it shouldn't do, Jim. This is a situation. Look, Rubens goes in, he is a little bit too late. Unfortunately, taps Frentzen around. He spins, keeps going low. Yes, it's ruined Frentzen's race to a degree, but it is racing.
Let's talk about your old team for a bit, about McLaren and Mika Hakkinen blowing out of this race here.
Yeah, not good at all. I mean, we see that there. The car goes off at incredible speed. There's either a suspension failure or something along those lines to put him off at that speed. Obviously not a driver error, I don't think. And you can see he's a little bit rejected. Not good. We've got to look at that and see whether they can correct it for Malaysia.
He looks pretty upset there. Unusual for that sort of thing to happen to a McLaren.
very unusual. I mean, those guys at McLaren are so good on detail work. Everything is tested strenuously. Many, many miles go on the track testing their parts as well. And I'm sure they will analyse that and will come back stronger than ever.
Tony, David Coulthard had a good one here, and well, he muscled out Barrichello, really giving him a taste of his own medicine, didn't he?
Yeah, I would think Rubens got it very slightly wrong before that, but this is David, as he's good at going round the outside. He did that in France last year on Michael Schumacher. And when he's hustling like that, it's great to watch, and that's the sort of aggression that he needs. He also says this year that he must make mediocre races into good races. That's what he's done today and got 6 points, so good for him.
You raced against Juan Pablo Montoya over in the States, haven't you? And he's made a very impressive Formula One debut.
He has indeed, and yeah, looking at this footage here, the Williams is not an easy car to drive at this precise time, but he was impressive, and he was the fastest Michelin runner. But it didn't last. Engine blew. BMW said they were going to go all guns firing, but they're only smoking at this point, Jim.
Yeah, there we are. Sad end to Juan Pablo, but I'm sure we'll hear a lot more of him, and indeed a lot more from the two of you during the season. Thanks very much indeed. Right, some other views now of the first race of 2001.
Heinz, how that race went wrong for you in the opening laps, didn't it?
Yeah, probably I've seen what happened. A little incident with Rubens. He never gave up. Trying to keep in front of me, and basically I was already almost full car on his side, and if he kept it a little bit open, it would have been difficult for me to overtake, but he just closed on me and then we touched, and I think I lost you know, the toes on my car, because the front tire, the left front was you could see there was losing grip, and the car wasn't the same left to right. This happens. Race situations can happen all the time, but we are looking good, and that's the most important thing.
Nick, congratulations. You waited a whole year for your first Grand Prix points. How does it feel now you've got them?
Oh, it's excellent to finally having scored some points. Also, the race was really good. I got a lot of pressure in the end, which was basically fun, because I managed to cope with the pressure.
The evidence this weekend is that you've been running very strong, and Ferrari have got a great racing car.
Yeah, great racing car, and I'm feeling better and better inside the car, so I should have a better year, even though the first race went a little bit like that.
Gents, a bit of a tough day for you today.
Yeah, it has been quite tough. Hasn't been the best weekend ever, but no, the race was pretty good to start with, but then I had to stop, get a penalty. I'm not quite sure what for, and then the engine, I don't know what the problem was, but it wasn't at full speed. So there you go. I think we got some mileage on the engine, so that's one bonus. But that's about it.
How long before this car comes good, you reckon?
Well, hopefully as soon as possible, but I don't really know. But as long as we just see improvements, I think it was good that Giancarlo finished the race. I think hopefully we'll have a lot of data so we can go quick next time. See you later.
But Park Melbourne, a very sombre place to be this evening following the death of the trackside marshal from Queensland. The Australian Grand Prix, though, did take place here, of course. Let me just confirm the points scorers for you. Back-to-back victories for Michael Schumacher in Australia. Coulthard, second place in between the Ferraris. Panis doing well on his BAR debut, and good performance from Heidfeld as well. Frentzen making his point for Jordan. The top three, though, understandably downbeat when they chatted to us afterwards.
It's obviously a very sad day. Can you sum up your feelings and those of the rest of the drivers?
Obviously, we just got to know that the marshal had died just before the podium, so we decided not to commemorate the podium, basically. And it's very unfortunate to lose a colleague that was working for us and was enjoying his day there. And you know, after all, we had a race. It was fun out there, but you know, you feel sad that happened.
Well, clearly the rules, which have a sort of Kevlar tie strap to hold the wheel in place, are a gesture in the right direction, but not strong enough. And with sort of velocities that you see of acceleration when a wheel is knocked off a car, it might be very difficult to ever contain a wheel to the chassis itself. So maybe what you're doing is looking at the circuits to put higher fences, you know, to really create a situation where they're curved over at the top, so it's increasingly unlikely for a wheel to make it as far as the crowd. The marshals are always going to have to be close enough to watch what the cars are actually doing, but you know, we're getting to a time now where we have flag signals in the car with lights, And it may come to the point where we actually don't need the marshals to be right there beside the track, and they can just be brought on when there's debris and things like that, because you know, a wheel accelerated off a car at that speed, you know, no one can duck and try and avoid that.
Driver safety has improved so much over the recent years. Do you think that maybe the safety of the marshals and the people outside the circuit has been overlooked?
It's
Where do you think you have to...
Obviously the typical question is coming after things happen like that. And after what happened in Monza and after what happened now, as I said before, we have to improve, certainly, because it's not possible that we improve driver safety better and better, and we may not, after what's happening, we see now issues in a different area, and people who try to save our lives, we have to do everything to save their lives as well.
We are all trying to improve all areas, whether it be you know, for the marshals, the caterers, but it's not until you have incidents that you really become aware of things. You know, if, you know, in the benefit of hindsight, we could all do lots of things differently with our lives, but we have to go through the pain of these learning experiences, unfortunately, to improve things for the future.
The driver's view then on the tragedy in Melbourne. Now let's hear from a man who's campaigned ceaselessly for safety throughout his life. That's Jackie Stewart, responding to the news that a flying wheel had killed the marshal.
Well, we just have to go. We have to look at it. We have to go to the best universities of dynamics and see if there's something more that we can anchor them to, and something more that we can use to hose them to that vehicle. We've got to be sure that, you know, they will flail around, and it's very tough to get away from it completely.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Now, Mark Blundell, how will the drivers involved in this accident, Ralf Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve, be feeling?
Obviously, they're going to feel very upset over the whole situation, as all the drivers will, and everybody down the pit lane concerned with Formula One. But you know, it is very tough. It's emotionally tough on those guys that finished that race. They would like to celebrate, but it's not right to do that. I mean, we've had a loss of life. But those marshals, we couldn't race without them, but at the same point, those marshals love the sport as much as what we do as drivers.
Tony, when we looked at the accident during the race, all three of us up here had a sharp intake of breath.
It's alarming because, you know, Schumacher was in the middle of the track. Just look at this. As Villeneuve, he decided to go one way to the left. Obviously, the two tyres had fused together. Launch ramp, and he goes up in the air. The car spins around, smash into that concrete wall. I can't believe that the guy wasn't hurt. In fact, we understand that all the corner marshals there rushed to him first because they thought he was in big trouble, but he wasn't, fortunately. But again, we've got these double wheel tethers, which is the 8mm double, you know, and they're all made of wire that go all the way through the wishbones, and they're anchored onto the inside of the chassis. Now, they're meant to take, when you pull on the two of them, it's meant to take a weight equivalent of a snatch of 10 tons. The trouble is that when the suspension actually breaks, as the mechanics will tell you, it can cut through the wire and break the hawser holding the wheel, and then the wheel will still come off.
Mark, just give us your view on how that accident actually occurred.
Ralf Schumacher was in the middle of the road. Jacques Villeneuve came up and looked like he was going to do the dummy, tried to fade him to the right, but went to the left of him to go the long way round. But consequently, Ralf looked like he slowed up, and then Jacques, boom, over the top he went. Big accident, big damage, but you know, Jacques was okay, but tragically we've lost a marshal.
There were half a dozen or so spectators also hurt, but they've been allowed home after treatment, thankfully. But when the safety car came out, what effect did you feel that had on the whole race?
New dynamics on the race completely. You know, everybody then has to start recalculating. There's fuel to look at, there's tyre wear to look at, and tactically they may do something differently with their stops, but you know, Ferrari did it right again.
And a final word on the winner, Michael Schumacher.
Well, they're on a roll from last year. That Ferrari red mist has shrouded McLaren at the beginning of 2001. That's not what they wanted. Good, solid start for Coulthard, and a good start for the rookies and the young drivers.
Tony, Mark, thank you very much indeed. We're back with you in a couple of weeks' time. Early start for you again, 4:30 a.m. on the Saturday morning, qualifying live from Malaysia, the Sepang circuit. The rerun 2:25. The race is live from 6:45 on the Sunday morning. Another rerun 1:30 lunchtime, and highlights just before midnight. It's been a tragic start to the Formula One year. From the whole ITV team in Melbourne, bye-bye.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
After a steward's inquiry, fourth-placed Olivier Panis was penalised 25 seconds for a yellow flag infringement. He then dropped to seventh place, which moved Nick Heidfeld up into fourth. Jordan's Heinz-Harald Frentzen took fifth, and the young Finn Kimi Räikkönen marked his Formula One debut with a point for finishing sixth.
But not too happy, I think.
Well, you know, there's two issues here. Obviously, in my race, I'm happy for my performance, for the reliability of the car. But the overriding issue, of course, is the fact that Marshall lost his life and there's some spectators injured. So, you know, that puts everything else into perspective. And really, today's more about that. You know, this is sport, and we don't want to see, obviously, especially from people outside the cars, you know, fatalities, because they are not accepting the same risk, I don't believe, as the drivers when we get in the cars.
What is the lesson, what we can learn from this?
We must do more in track safety. Marshals have to be more aware of what's happening and with the cars. You know, with all due respect, sometimes people are watching one particular part of an event and then they take their eye off what, you know, the important part, which is where the cars are coming from.
David, you didn't have a spectacular good position. But Michael, congratulations, but happy?
Obviously, as happy as you can be after hearing what has happened on the circuit to the marshal.
Can we do something about the problem, you think, which happened?
Can you do something?
I think we do something about it? Have we learned something from this?
I'm sure. I mean, since Monza, for sure, there has been taken care about this and have been done certain steps. I'm pretty sure on that. Obviously, that's still not enough. What has to be done is in the hands of the FIA, and they're very concerned for these kind of issues, and I'm sure they will react appropriate.
Performance?
Yeah, it was okay.
Start was not too good, I think, but in the race, very good.
Yeah, the start was pretty bad, but I think so I can do better next time.
Is this what you always have dreamed about?
Yeah, of course. I always liked the racing. I just love this thing, and it's the main thing in my life.
The death of a course worker at the season-opening Australian Grand Prix completely overshadowed Sunday's race in Melbourne. There was no champagne celebrations after Michael Schumacher's victory. The death of the Grand Prix marshal happened after a wheel flew off Jacques Villeneuve's car when he crashed into the barrier on lap 5. 13 fans were injured by the flying debris. Schumacher's post-race thoughts were about improving safety at Albert Park and other circuits. Well, this was the second time in 6 months that a marshal had been killed at a Formula One race. Three-time F1 champion Niki Lauda, now a top Jaguar official, has called for a complete inquiry into that crash. And Aussie Grand Prix boss Ron Walker stated that the death was a 1 in a billion fluke. Walker stating the wheel going through that small gap in the wall was, quote, an amazing phenomenon. Well, there was some joy in the Sauber stable Sunday after Kimi Räikkönen was elevated into the points. The 21-year-old Finn was originally classified in 7th place in the Aussie Grand Prix, but he was moved up to 6th after Olivier Panis was relegated from 4th to 7th after a penalty for a yellow flag violation.
blijft mooi om naar. Afgelopen week alweer druk getest. Ferrari testte natuurlijk in het eigen Italië. De enige echte vaste Grand Prix-coureur die in actie kwam was Rubens Barrichello op de vrijdag en de zaterdag. Het team van McLaren testte in Frankrijk op Magny-Cours. Daar werd er getest met het zogenaamde traction control systeem. En voor de rest de grootste test, een 3-daagse test. Vorige week woensdag, donderdag en vrijdag vond er plaats op Silverstone in Engeland. In actie daar 6 mannen met allemaal bekende namen, maar geen van hen is op dit moment Grand Prix-coureur. We hebben de tijden genomen, over de 3 dagen genomen. En de snelste is dan Pedro de la Rosa in de Jaguar in 1:24.69. Hij reed die tijd op vrijdag. Tweede, Johnny Herbert in zijn eerste outing in de Arrows. 1:25.43 was zijn tijd, neergezet op woensdag. Derde, Webber in de Benetton, 1:25.74, neergezet op vrijdag. En vierde, Zonta in de Jordan, 1:25.75, ook neergezet op vrijdag. Vijfde, Mark Genet, die 2 verschillende Williamson uittesten. 1:26.84 voor hem op vrijdag. En Thomas Scheckter in de Jaguar zet de woensdag tijd neer van 1:27.77. Donderdag werd er wel gereden, maar toen was het erg regenachtig en dus tellen die tijden niet echt mee.
Dit programma werd gesponsord door Compaq.